Chapter 841. 3 consecutive vanishing shadows, double combo. Moonguard, reverse. Who would have thought that after Lin Chen struck out with his saber, his momentum did not decrease, but instead increased. The saber rotated and created a mirror-like saber mark that condensed into a flickering moon. The moment the absolute shadow, saber, touched the saber mark, it bounced back with a bang. The mirror shattered, and Lin Chen was unscathed. However, before everyone could gasp in amazement at Lin Chen's reflexes and powerful abilities, a flash of white light appeared like a startling rainbow and silently struck down from the top of Lin Chen's head. At that moment, there was only one thought in the minds of all the spectating prodigies. It's over. 3 consecutive vanishing shadows. Third strike. Almost no one could see through the trajectory and traces of this strike. Even someone as strong as Qin Jian subconsciously revealed an extremely serious expression. This strike was too fast. Furthermore, the previous 2 strikes could be said to be completely impossible to guard against. After trying his best to block the sneak attack of the 2 blades, it was almost impossible to block the 3rd strike in an instant. Even sensing its existence was extremely difficult. Boom! The grayish-white talisman suddenly exploded above Lin Chen's head. Space and spirit chi slowed down, and the flying blade's speed dropped by countless times. Break! Lin Chen held the azure moon in his hand and slashed towards the sky, shattering the white blade aura with a horizontal slash. What? He saw through my 3rd strike? Ji Wutian's pupils trembled. The Dragon Emperor's Azure Dragon Sword slashed down, and the Azure Dragon Domain released an endless amount of dragon power to delay his body, forcing Ji Wutian to face this dragon tail slash head-on. The new plus 13 moon mirror broke the other party's 3 consecutive vanishing blades. Lin Chen's momentum soared. He held the blade with both hands and slashed, and the tier 8 blade's edge shone to the extreme. Host activated level 5 recharge, level 5 penetration, level 5 heavenly invisibility rune. 680,000 points of rune energy have been consumed. All traces of the host's attack have been removed. Cooldown time, 40 seconds. Duration, 3 seconds. Lin Chen's powerful slash didn't turn into any battle chi attack. Everyone was puzzled, and even Ji Wutian was stunned. A moonlight flashed past, and Ji Wutian's head was cut off. His head was sent flying, dropping a large number of attribute light balls. Even before he died, he couldn't figure out what went wrong with him. How could there be such a strange attack? What kind of joke is this? I, Ji Wutian, was born with the bloodline of a saint. How could I be? Ji Wutian's head fell to the ground, dying with his eyes wide open. As expected of a genius on the genius ranking, that last 3rd vanishing shadow, flying dagger, almost tricked me. Lin Chen exhaled and smiled. Unfortunately, compared to your vanishing shadow flying dagger, my heavenly invisibility rune is still better. The Dragon Emperor rushed forward and swallowed Ji Wutian's body, storage ring, weapon, and even the attribute light balls. Received 88. 98 million battle chi essences, 800,000 cultivation technique essences, 30,000 intermediate spiritual power, 60,000 intermediate spiritual power, 400,000 talent points, 300,000 heaven's path points, 850 strengthening points, 1,100 blank attribute points, 100,000 intermediate wind energy. A large number of attribute points entered his body. Lin Chen's intermediate wind energy had increased by 28. 5 million points, and his intermediate wind energy had increased to 52. 1 million points. Lin Chen saw that Ji Wutian had dropped an orange crystal treasure chest, and a screen popped up. Host has opened the orange crystal treasure chest. Received. Vanishing Shadow, Flying Dagger Manual, grade undetermined, suspected to be a half-orange secret art. Lin Chen's eyes lit up. This orange crystal treasure chest was Ji Wutian's famous secret art, the Vanishing Shadow Flying Dagger Manual. Lin Chen had personally experienced the power of this flying dagger technique. If he hadn't left a delaying rune in his heart, He would have died without a doubt from that last dagger. In the chaotic battle with the Black Horse Club, the first of the 5 prodigies to fall was the highest-ranked Ji Wutian. Ji Wutian's fall shocked everyone in the ancient sacred temple. Cousin is dead? Ji Qingming was shocked. In terms of movement, attack, and defense, Ji Wutian was a top-notch expert. He had many high-level techniques, but under Lin Shun and the Dragon Emperor's continuous attacks, he couldn't even last 200 rounds. Chi! Boom! Golden light shone brightly above Lin Chen's head, forming a row of words. Prodigy ranking 94250. Name Lin Shun. Cultivation. Late-stage battle Emperor level 8. Main cultivation technique. Unknown. Cultivation technique. Unknown. Killed prodigy ranking 94250. Ji Wutian. Vanishing Shadows triple combo. Prodigy ranking 94250. Lin Chun. Lin Chen's mouth twitched. What the F asterisk CK? What kind of dodge asterisk T ranking is this? F asterisk CK. 94,250? It's 250? F asterisk CK. I refuse to accept the award. The Su sisters couldn't help but burst into laughter. Lung Yueqi smiled. This ranking was too coincidental. Roar! With a roar, the Dragon Emperor flew into the sky and joined the battle of the last 4 prodigies. The situation began to tilt. Ji Qingming, Yin Qingyun, Zhong Yijue, and Gu Tianxie were in danger of dying at any moment. However, they couldn't even break out of the encirclement at this moment. With the Dragon Emperor's addition and the 4 clones' ultimate moment plus 13 infinite silent steps, the 4 of them had no chance of breaking out at all. Prince Lin Shun, I know my mistake. If I had known that Lung Yueqi was young master's woman, I wouldn't have dared to touch her even if I had 10 guts. Please spare my life. I'm willing to give you everything I have. Young Master Yin Xingyun started to beg for mercy, but Lin Shin didn't even look at him. He returned to Lung Yueqi's side and asked with heartache, "Have you recovered from your injuries?" Lung Yueqi's heart was filled with sweetness, and she gave a soft At this moment, Lin Shin stuck close to Lung Yueqi's back and held her soft hand. He smiled gently and said, "Come, use your ice bow to wipe out all those who hurt you." Lin Shin's warm and clean breath stuck close to her back, causing Lung Yueqi's cheeks and ears to turn red. Under the guidance of Lin Shin's hands, her slender hands started to draw her frozen moon bow, nocked an arrow, and aimed at the 4 prodigies in the field. "Don't be afraid. I'll teach you step by step. Come, shoot him." After saying that, Lin Shun released the bowstring for Lung Yueqi. With a whoosh, the arrow shot out, causing Ji Qingming to dodge by a hair's breadth. He was almost shot. "Aya, you didn't hit him. Come, let's continue. We still have a lot of time." Behind Lung Yueqi, Lin Shun had a wretched smile on his face. This cold and beautiful woman blushed, her beauty unparalleled. Lin Shun repeatedly guided her to draw the ice bow, and arrows pierced through the air, shooting towards the 4 prodigies. On one hand, the 4 prodigies were being suppressed by the 4 clones. On the other hand, they were being suppressed by the Dragon Emperor. On the other hand, they had to be careful of the ice breath arrows that were shooting towards them at high speed. It was as if they were in danger of dying at any moment. Countless prodigies felt their scalps go numb. "Yes, shoot behind him." "No, the strength this time is too weak." "Aya, the strength is too strong." "Sister Yueqi, slow down a bit and let me shoot." Yes, there." Lin Shin's flirtatious words made all the prodigies' mouths twitch violently. They were almost driven mad. The 4 prodigies of the prodigy ranking. Which one of them wasn't famous and powerful? They were existences that stood above countless prodigies. At this moment, they were being shot by Lin Shun like targets. They didn't even have the strength to fight back. The Black Horse Club was too cruel. Chapter 842. Elder Sister Yuqi, there's no need to show mercy. The Black Horse Club's actions are just to make it more comfortable for you and me to shoot. A certain Lin revealed a coquettish smile as he continued to pull the ice bow with the beauty. the beauty in front and the youth in the back, flirting with each other, exchanging glances, drawing bows and arrows as they wildly attacked, causing all the prodigies' mouths to twitch and their brows to tremble. Too perverted, too deranged, too despicable. A certain Lin shot wildly with Lung Yuqi, causing the four prodigies to hover between life and death, almost spitting out blood. They were filled with regret. Why did they sneak attack Lung Yuqi? If they knew she was Lin Chen's woman, they wouldn't have dared even if they had 10 times the courage. Xiu, Puchi. The ice arrow pierced through Gu Tianxia, and he gasped a few times as the life in his eyes gradually dimmed. Then he was swallowed by the Dragon Emperor in a flash. Honglong. The spear pierced through flesh and bones, and the arrow pierced through Zhong Yijue's giant body, leaving behind a bloody hole. Blood flowed from the corner of his mouth, and his eyes were filled with regret before he died. Ji Qingming watched helplessly as several people fell, and even their chance to escape was sealed. He couldn't help feeling his blood run cold as the aura of death enveloped him. Ji Qingming saw this, and saw that the arrow was aimed at him. His face instantly turned pale as he quickly shouted, "No, don't. Junior Sister Yuqi, aren't we from the same sect? You won't kill a fellow disciple, right? Our Ice Heart Palace has rules. Give me a chance. I've already realized my mistake." As soon as he said this, Lung Yuqi took the initiative to draw the bowstring faster. Cold energy condensed in her slender hands as she drew the bow and shot an arrow through the heart. Junior Sister Yuqi. Before Ji Qingming died, he was filled with despair and unwillingness. Lung Yuqi's cold voice rang out. Ice Heart Palace's rules can't be compared to his. For people fell. In Qingyun, Ji Qingming, Zhong Yijue, and Gu Tianxia were all killed by the combined attacks of Lin Chen's doppelgangers and the Dragon Emperor. Elemental balls of light filled the void. The Dragon Emperor collected the attribute balls dropped by the four great geniuses. Lin Chen's attribute points continued to soar. His strengthening points had already reached 70,000 points. It was much more than the strengthening points in the outside world. Countless heaven's favorites watched with their hearts pounding. They were both shocked and fearful. 5 geniuses on the genius ranking had fallen. This was a scene that was hard to come by in the sacred boundary in 100 years. Normally, only super-secret realms opened by 4th grade sects and above could trigger such a tragic battle. Who would have thought that a youngster who came out of nowhere would be able to create such a terrifying battle record? After this battle, Lin Chen's name would resound throughout the entire mystic realm. In this ancient sacred hall, perhaps only the combined strength of more than 10 genius role geniuses could hold back the Black Horse Club. Lin Chen collected all the storage rings, weapons, and attribute balls from the 4 great geniuses. No one dared to do anything to him. Damn it, who dared to provoke him? Even the genius role geniuses of the same rank might not dare to provoke Lin Chen. The Black Horse Club's people were all lunatics who didn't care about their lives. This time, although Lin Chen didn't participate in the battle outside the ancient sacred hall, his harvest was the most bountiful. He collected all the 5 genius role geniuses' treasures. No one had a bigger harvest than him. Lin Chen took a rough look and saw that there were 3 odd crystal fragments. They were of the gold, earth, and wind attributes. His harvest was unimaginably bountiful, and the harvest this time is perfect. Even the rune energy has been replenished by 70 million points. The actual consumption is only 20 million. Lin Chen nodded with satisfaction. He looked around and saw that most of the fighting had stopped. There were still 44 genius role geniuses left in the hall. Among them, Qin Miao, and Qin Jian were ranked the highest. Lin Chen immediately noticed the strength of the 2 sisters. Sir Lin Chen truly has the demeanor of a king. I admire you. I wonder if we can join forces with the Black Horse Club this time. If there are any gains, you can take the biggest share. How about it? Ghost fortune teller Imo Qing walked over and cupped his fists. His tone was sincere and respectful. Me too. Do you want to join forces? Ice pupil Lan Ruoxue also flew over and gave a concise invitation. Lin Chen smiled and nodded. Of course. Since the two of you have spoken, I won't be polite. As long as you're not my enemy, Lin Chen, will welcome you. With the two of them joining, Lin Chen's group became even stronger. This kid's luck with women is not bad. Beauties come one after another. Qin Jian's beautiful eyes revealed a dangerous light as she stared at Lin Chen. Qi Miao hurriedly said, "Don't mess around. Don't forget our goal this time. Furthermore, I don't even know him. Sister, you're too soft-hearted. If you like a man, you can just snatch him away. If that doesn't work, you can just put some aphrodisiac to sleep with him first. What's done can't be undone. Are you afraid that he won't recognize you after pulling up his pants?" Qin Jian was sexy and hot as she spoke to her sister in disappointment. Qi Miao spat. "I don't know where you learned these things." At this moment, an ancient voice rang out in the hall. "Welcome, geniuses, to the ancient Saint Hall. I believe that all of you have been waiting for this for a long time. The secrets of yours truly are not something that anyone can know or possess. I have specially prepared 3 passageways for all of you. Each of the passageways has a different type of fortune. Choose one." As soon as he finished speaking, a rumbling sound could be heard. In the bright and spacious hall, the wall in front of them slowly stretched out, revealing 3 stone doors. The stone doors opened, revealing 3 paths. The group of prodigies and geniuses on the genius ranking all wanted to move towards the stone doors, but then they fell into hesitation and doubt. They didn't want others to beat them to it, but they didn't want to be the first to do so. Lin Chen didn't care about these guys. His priority was to absorb the odd crystal fragments. Purgatory odd crystal fragments. Wind element, 1/10 of a complete odd crystal. Innumerable green odd crystal fragments. Wood element, 1/13 of a complete odd crystal. Meteorite odd crystal fragments. Metal element, 1/15 of a complete odd crystal. Lin Chen handed the 3 odd crystal fragments to different clones. Then, he activated the wood calamity, metal calamity, and wind calamity battle physique and absorbed them all into his body to refine. Obtained 500,000 points of wood energy, 150,000 points of metal energy, 400,000 points of wind energy. Lin Chen's elemental attributes rose sharply, but he sat on the Dragon Emperor's back and chatted cheerfully. That's right, this was another advantage of the level 6 Phantom Rune. Lin Chen's clones had a higher consciousness than the host. Not only did they stop at battle consciousness, but they could also replace the host to cultivate. Aside from a special case of using the purplish-green path understanding fruit to comprehend combat skills, most of the time, the doppelganger could replace Lin Chen to cultivate. If the doppelganger absorbed enough spiritual qi, it would lead to a breakthrough in cultivation, which would be directly fed back to the original body. I can only use Azure Bright Moon for 15 minutes with all my strength now. I will suffer a backlash from the blade's edge, so I have to use it at a critical moment. Lin Chen glanced at his right arm that was covered in blood and frowned. Swish! There was the sound of wind breaking. Just as Lin Chen was thinking, the top prodigies had already started to rush into the first tunnel. Once someone stood out, it would lead the second one. A series of prodigies used their movement techniques and rushed into the tunnel, disappearing into the darkness. Your Excellency Lin Chen, what do you think? Mo Qing, who was also a fortune teller, seemed to have noticed something and asked for Lin Chen's opinion. Lin Chen glanced at the totem wall on the east side of the ancient sacred hall. There was a distance behind the wall, and there was a faint and unique light that belonged to the attribute light ball. Only Lin Chen could see it. He touched his chin with his left hand and chuckled. No hurry, let's grill the chicken wings first. Some of the prodigies who were secretly observing Lin Chen's actions were stunned. At this juncture, in this dangerous environment, he still had the mood to grill chicken wings. Chapter 843. The Su sisters looked at each other and smiled. It was as if they had found a fresh sense of adventure when they followed Lin Chen in the 9 provinces continent, because no one knew what he was going to do next. After saying that, Lin Shun and the girls came to the wall with the ancient totem painting. Mo Qing's eyes immediately lit up. Lin Shun began to circulate his battle chi and set up a bonfire. He skillfully took out a few large chicken wings and roasted them. From time to time, he even passed them to the three beauties beside him. Crazy, another crazy one. Seeing this scene, many of the geniuses on the genius ranking shook their heads and laughed. It seemed that they had too high of expectations for Lin Shun. Then, Su Qing, Drunken Sword, Shui Tianso, and the other geniuses stood in front of the three tunnels and chose different entrances to enter. The sects behind them were extremely concerned about the inheritance of the ancient sage hall. Therefore, they did not want to fall behind anyone and did not wait any longer. Lin Shun allowed the geniuses in the hall to enter the three tunnels. His fourth phantom avatar wantonly collected the attribute light balls that the geniuses had dropped during the battle. No matter how small a mosquito was, it was still meat. Hey, stinky man, why don't you go in first? At this moment, Qin Jian took a step forward and asked Lin Shun in annoyance, "What are you doing?" She had fought with Lin Shun before and snatched gold Saint Origin coins from him. She roughly knew that this guy was not someone who would suffer losses. Since he could sit here and eat so calmly with such a personality, he must have a backup plan. Qin Miao stood behind Qin Jian, but she did not dare to get too close to Lin Shun and the others. "What's the hurry? They will come back later. Let me say this first, I didn't roast your chicken wings." Lin Shun raised his eyebrows and pursed his lips. "They will come back on their own?" Lan Ruoxue was puzzled. Could it be that there was something else in the tunnel? Lin Shun could not be bothered with these two beauties. With a thought, he ordered his two avatars that could move closer to the ancient wall. He reached out his hands and touched the ancient totem wall. Unconsciously, he circulated his battle chi of 9 tribulations. Oh, this is something strange indeed. All of a sudden, Lin Shun raised his eyebrows when his clone touched the veins on the totem wall with his palm and started to run his scorching fire calamity battle chi. Then, Lin Shun's spiritual consciousness dived into the storage rings of the 5 fallen geniuses. This time, the foundation of the genius role's geniuses really broadened Lin Shun's horizons. Disregarding the main offensive weapons of the 5 great geniuses, that was only a small part of their value. Every genius had their own life-saving trump cards, and most of them were good things that were still preserved. Dark Night Cloak, Yin Jinghong's famous weapon. It can conceal one's aura and increase one's speed. Ghostface Flag belongs to Ji Qingming. It can predict danger and defend against powerful attacks in the face of danger. It can even defend against mental attacks. 8 Treasure Black Shield belongs to Zhong Yiju, a top-grade defensive artifact. Consumes energy to defend against 8 types of battle chi attacks. This thing is... Lin Shun also discovered 4 dazzling golden flying daggers, revealing their sharpness. They were actually 4 top-grade, Tier 7 flying daggers. Their value was terrifyingly high. Even though the flying daggers were small in size and didn't consume the usual amount of materials, each one of them was still worth at least 100,000 silver Saint Origin coins. Flying Dagger, Flying Dragon Golden Shadow. It was extremely sharp and powerful. It belonged to the offensive category of flying daggers. Its lethality was high, but its stealth was poor. Ji Wuqian didn't use this dagger earlier because he was afraid of being discovered by Lin Shun. Therefore, it couldn't be used as a surprise attack. The only one who didn't leave behind a life-saving trump card was Yin Qingyan. His companion spirit cat had died with him. There weren't many things in the storage rings, but every one of them was a top-grade item. The rest of the items ranged from 3 to 5 scrolls of cultivation techniques. They weren't any lower than the top-grade Tier 7 low-grade ones. The weapons weren't any lower than the top-grade Tier 7 high-grade ones. There weren't many pills, but each of them had a crucial function. There were also some rare pill recipes that were already extinct in the modern world. They were priceless. Other than that, there were 1 or 2 gold Saint Origin coins and 20,000 silver Saint Origin coins in each storage ring. Silver Saint Origin coins were a resource, so it was impossible to store too many of them. These weapons were damaged to varying degrees because of the 5 people and the life and death battle. Fortunately, they weren't completely destroyed. As long as I have enough Silver Saint Origin coins, it's only a matter of time before they are fully restored. Lin Chun was ecstatic. The rewards this time were enough for him to equip his doppelgangers again. I have the secret manual of the Vanishing Shadow flying dagger now. It's time to learn it. With a thought, Lin Chun opened the system. Heavenly Path Possession System version 6.0. Host. Lin Chun Cultivation. Late stage 8th level battle Emperor Realm. Intermediate battle Chi Essence. 301. 5 billion points. Ultimate Strength. 19. 99 million Dragon Power. Intermediate Blood Energy. 621. 7 billion points. Intermediate Mental Power. 18. 86 million points. Ascension Realm Great Success. Intermediate Cultivation Technique Essence. 3. 1 billion points. Intermediate Rune Energy. 2. 0. 8 billion points. Heavenly Path Points. 1. 3 billion points. Talent Points. 2. 1 billion points. Blank Attributes. 190,000 points. Strengthening Points. 89,989 points. Intermediate Elemental Energy. Fire Element. 12. 1 million points. Earth Element. 29. 11 million points. Wood Element. 89. 66 million points. Metal Element. 151. 52 million points. Water Element. 84. For million points. Lightning Element. 27. 9 million points. Wind Element. 108. 9 million points. Light Element. 15. 2 million points. Dark Element. 15. 8 million points. Cultivation Technique Status Column. Open. Bloodline Status Column. Open. Passive Talent Column. Open. Killing Technique Column. Open. Active Talent. Blue rank. Thieving Omen. Blue rank. Fatal Bloodthirst. Purple rank. Superdimensional Teleportation. Purple rank. Final Moment. Purple rank. Ultimate Return. Purple rank. Sovereign's Descent. Quasi-Orange rank. Absolute Life and Death. Orange rank. Instant Shadow Fragment. 1/2. Characteristic Rune Column. Open. Talent Combination Skill. Fatal Bloodthirst. Superdimensional Teleportation. Sovereign's Descent. Absolute Life and Death. System. I want to learn the Vanishing Shadow Flying Dagger Secret Technique. My doppelgangers will be responsible for absorbing the cultivation technique memories. System received. Consuming 230 million intermediate cultivation technique soul essences. Beginning to integrate all the memories of Vanishing Shadow Flying Dagger. Lin Chun was taken aback. What kind of skill was this? To think that it would require him to spend over 200 million points of his intermediate skill essence. A massive amount of cultivation memories poured into a doppelganger, and it immediately sat down cross-legged to absorb them. Lin Chen's sea of consciousness automatically added many familiar memories. If not for his mental strength attribute skyrocketing, it would have been difficult to absorb these memories. Seeing the system's appraisal, there's a label that seems to be a half-orange grade cultivation technique. Could it be? I've picked up a treasure? Lin Chun was ecstatic, but he would only know the specific situation after his doppelganger finished learning. It seems that it has only been a month since I came to the sacred boundary, and I've already refined 6 odd crystal fragments. There is still a Tianyin odd crystal fragment to decompose. Now, 3 of my elemental attributes have exceeded 100 million points. I wonder if this continues, and if I increase my elemental attributes without limit, will the power of the 9 tribulations of creation be comparable to a half-orange grade, or even a true orange grade cultivation technique? Lin Chun was excited and his mind moved. His entire body shone with 6 star-like lights that emitted different colors. Those were the lights of the odd crystal fragments, representing the number of odd crystal fragments he controlled. Seeing the 6 odd crystal fragments in Lin Chen's body, Lan Ruoxue and Mo Qing's eyes almost popped out. Chapter 844. Even Qin Juyin and Qin Miao Were astonished. Six pieces? Sir Lin Chun is really fierce. Emo Ching swallowed her saliva. Geniuses outside the top 90,000 on the genius ranking could only refine 2 odd crystal fragments at most. A small number of them had special mental cultivation techniques and could refine 3, but he actually refined 6? He has 5 special mental cultivation techniques? No, he even has battle chi of multiple attributes, allowing him to support odd crystal fragments of different attributes. But that's not right. The energy of the odd crystal fragments is so domineering. Even if it's the smallest 1/20th, an 8th level combat emperor shouldn't be able to withstand 6. Qin Jian's heart was in turmoil. She couldn't see through Lin Chun. She couldn't see through him at all. Refining odd crystal fragments was a huge risk in itself. Some even needed the help of elders in the sect who cultivated the same mental cultivation technique to refine them. But to him, it was as simple as eating and drinking. Qin Miao, or stared at Lin Chun with curiosity in her beautiful eyes. Bang! Rumble. At this moment, a violent explosion came from the 3 tunnels, followed by a burst of shrill screams in an instant. The screams were endless. It spread throughout the hall. Those geniuses who had yet to enter the genius ranking immediately turned pale and retreated, vigilant of the situation in the tunnel. Everyone was vigilant and bewildered, but Lin Chun continued to eat his roasted wings. After a while, the group of geniuses returned in a sorry state. Some were even covered in blood and were seriously injured. Even the geniuses on the genius ranking were in a sorry state. What's going on? What happened to you? Hiss, Liao Yuanimo is injured. Su Qing is also bleeding. What kind of dangerous situation is this? The geniuses exclaimed and felt a lingering fear in their hearts. Fortunately, they didn't enter early. Some geniuses said truthfully. Some encountered high-level demon spirits similar to the endless forest in the tunnel, but demon spirits couldn't leave the area in the tunnel. Otherwise, it would be a bloody battle. Some of the tunnels had extremely powerful, fierce beasts. Although they weren't saint beasts, they were powerful existences comparable to 3rd or 4th tribulation combat emperors. Facing such existences, ordinary geniuses would die. Even if he was a genius on the genius ranking, he would have to run. 1-on-1 or 2, he wouldn't stand a chance. At this moment, Lin Yiqian, who had just finished eating the chicken wings, was smiling like a child. Io, you're all back? Like I said, I'll be waiting for you at the clubhouse in the rain and wind. Our Black Horse Club members are just that daring. Either we don't move, or we fiercely attack. As the saying goes, as long as you have the guts, the teacher will give you maternity leave. Oh my God, Sister Yuechi, why are you pinching me? Some of the geniuses on the genius ranking were so angry that their veins popped out. Some of them were so angry that they started laughing. Haha, Lin Chun, it's useless for you to mock us here. The space within the palace has already been sealed. If we want to leave the ancient sage palace, we can only charge through to the end. If we suffer too many casualties, it won't do you any good either. What are you saying? Lin Chun nodded in agreement. Yes, that's true. You're right, brother. As the gathering place of the top 10 youths, our Black Horse Club can't just sit by and do nothing. It's time for us to show our true strength. 10 good youths? Wasn't that the top 10 shameful youths? Then Lin Chun waved his hand, and the remaining flames of his bonfire instantly grew bigger. It was as if a few fire dragons had appeared out of nowhere, spitting out billowing dragon flames. The scorching inferno battle aura that filled the sky turned into a sea of fire, covering the ancient totem wall and burning fiercely. The flames spread all over the wall. Many of the geniuses on the genius ranking twitched their mouths. If you want to grill chicken wings, so be it. Why did you have to burn the wall? I think you've gone crazy from eating too much. What's the use of burning a wall? This is the ancient sage palace. Without the strength of a sage, it's impossible to destroy this ancient palace. Does he have nothing better to do? Forget it. Let's not bother about him. This guy is not the typical crazy type. Some of the geniuses shook their heads and sat to the side to recover. They planned to regroup later and invite more people to charge into the passageway again. No, no, no. However, more and more geniuses on the genius ranking began to realize that something was wrong. The ancient totem wall began to melt and disintegrate. Was it gradually becoming transparent? The gradually transparent ancient totem wall revealed a 300-meter tall stone door. It began to reveal a brand new path. Countless geniuses were stunned. What was going on? Why was there a fourth path? Also, how did Lin Chen know? Lin Chen smiled coquettishly. Sorry, handsome people can really do whatever they want. Fire in the palace, and the director fell in love with me. Little kid, don't try to imitate me. It's very dangerous. In fact, Lin Chen only knew that the ancient totem wall was strange at first, but he couldn't see through its secrets. Even the Golden-Eyes twins couldn't see through it. The only thing he could tell was that although it was a tall wall, there were tribute light balls flickering behind it. It was really strange. Lin Chen, who wasn't sure, decided to approach the ancient totem wall in the name of roasting chicken wings. He tried to investigate the ancient totem wall and found that it only reacted to Lin Chen's scorching fire tribulation battle aura. While everyone's attention was on the three passageways, Lin Chen had already roughly grasped the situation of the ancient totem wall. This thing needed to be burned. However, it was fine as long as it wasn't burned. Because he had strengthened the Genesis Holy Bible, Lin Chen's mental senses had become extremely sensitive. Lin Chen also sensed that there seemed to be some dangerous existences hidden in this hidden passageway. As expected, when the fourth path was revealed, a domineering aura rushed into the ancient sage temple like a howling hurricane. All the prodigies hurriedly retreated, and Lin Chen was no exception. He had the Dragon Emperor protect everyone and the clone that was fusing with the cultivation memories as they quickly retreated. The white veil fluttered like clouds and smoke, and a slender figure slowly stepped out from the void. It was a beautiful woman with a temperament like the clouds and billowing blue waves. A gentle breeze blew past, and the beautiful woman's skirt fluttered slightly, revealing her snow-white legs. Seeing this, most of the hot-blooded male prodigies subconsciously bent down to take a look. However, they didn't see any beautiful scenery. It was all hazy. Regarding this situation, a certain Lin Chao disdainfully lifted his collar and criticized seriously. What a bunch of hooligans. I can't even look at them. They don't even have any basic manners. They bow down and bend down as they wish. They don't even have a bottom line. Tui, what a disgrace. I look down on people like you who have no manners. Some of the male prodigies were red in the face for being criticized. However, the habitual offenders didn't blush at all. They silently chanted in their hearts, "Let the wind blow harder." After saying that, Lin Chen righteously lowered his head and looked at the slightly open ground beneath his feet. He rubbed his chin and praised, White is a very beautiful color. It symbolizes purity and beauty. It represents a pure and simple style. However, some sharp-eyed people noticed that the tip of Lin Chao's foot was actually stepping on a mirror. The surface of the mirror reflected the snow-white light. The male prodigy who was criticized by him just now couldn't help but twitch his mouth. Damn it, that shameless bastard. Chapter 845. Everyone who has entered the palace. The fact that you have discovered the secret path of fire proves that you have great luck and wisdom among you. The graceful woman in white closed her eyes and spoke softly. Although her voice was not loud, it reached everyone's ears without missing a single word. Lin Chen narrowed his eyes. The woman in white's figure was somewhat illusory. It was not a real body, but a spiritual remnant. The secret path of fire refinement is a special path that leads to the master's palace. If you can pass the test in the special path, you can obtain countless treasures. If you can't pass the test, you can continue to the next secret palace. Young challengers, if you can make it to the last test, you can leave the ancient sage palace safely. If you are lucky, you can obtain the master's legacy. The woman in white's words made countless people's hearts beat faster. The legacy of the ancient sage was among them. No war emperor would not be tempted by the legacy of a sage. More importantly, the prodigies who were able to reach this place all had Saint Realm experts in their respective sections. The Saint Realm experts coveted the inheritance of the ancient saint, and they repeatedly urged the prodigies to enter this place. How could the legacy of a saint who could attract the attention of all the saints be ordinary? If it was not for the fact that ordinary saints could not enter the Tsanyu's secret realm, a saint would have come personally. After speaking, the woman in white turned into a wisp of smoke and disappeared. The path and the passage lit up, illuminating the spacious passage and emitting an ancient aura. All the geniuses looked at Lin Shan with complicated expressions. This passage was discovered by Lin Shan. No one knew if it was due to luck or if it was planned in advance. No matter what the reason was, he was the most likely person to obtain the legacy of the ancient sage. Lin Shan smiled slyly. Why are you all looking at me? I know I'm the most handsome person in the sacred boundary, but the Black Horse Club has always advocated keeping a low profile. That one sentence made many geniuses want to beat him up, and the admiration in their hearts disappeared. Seeing that Lin Shan did not intend to act first, everyone hesitated. What if the secret path was the same as the other three? What if there were terrifying creatures in it? Liao Yuanma, who was ranked 98551 on the genius list, sneered in disdain. A bunch of cowards, I won't hold back. Liao Yuanma was the first to rush in. He was one of the few geniuses on the genius ranking who had escaped unscathed from the three tunnels. He seemed to have something to rely on. Seeing that Lin Shan did not take any action, a few breaths later, more than 10 groups of geniuses rushed in together aggressively. It wasn't that Lin Shan wasn't doing anything, but he wasn't in a hurry. He was waiting for his doppelganger to perfectly fuse with the cultivation memories of Vanishing Shadow Flying Dagger. Moreover, he had accumulated a large amount of Silver Saint Origin coins in his Peach Blossom pouch to repair the Dark Knight Cloak, Ghostface Flag, and other top-tier treasures left behind by the geniuses on the Prodigy ranking. As long as these top-notch weapons were prepared and equipped all of his doppelgangers, his lineup would be raised to a whole new level. The stronger one was, the more likely they would be able to obtain. The Vanishing Shadow Flying Dagger is not divided into 3 consecutive strikes. There is still a 4th strike. When his doppelganger fused with most of the memories, Lin Shan was shocked to discover that there was a hidden secret in the Vanishing Shadow Flying Dagger. Vanishing Shadow 4 strikes. Gather all the blood, battle aura, and spirit. Gather all the power in 1 strike, and use up all the vitality to release the final strike. The power of this technique will surpass purple level battle techniques and reach half orange level. It is infinitely close to an orange level battle technique. After reading the cultivation memories, Lin Shan sucked in a breath of cold air. The last strike of the Vanishing Shadow Flying Dagger was infinitely close to an orange-level battle technique. No wonder Ji Wutian has 4 flying daggers. It turns out that he hasn't mastered the last strike yet. Lin Shan's mind trembled. If Ji Wutian had a 4th strike at that time, it would have been a real consecutive fatal strike. It would have been impossible to defend against, and he would have definitely died. The most important thing was that once the 4th strike was released, all the battle aura, blood, and even spirit would be emptied. Once the strike was released, it would determine the winner and the loser. It was definitely a strike with no return. If the opponent didn't die, he would be exhausted after releasing this strike, losing more than 90% of his combat power. Any war emperor could kill him. This is 2F** King awesome. This battle technique is practically tailor-made for me. No, to be precise, it should be tailor-made for my phantom doppelganger. After carefully tasting it, Lin Shan was wild with joy. Although the Vanishing Shadow 4 strike would exhaust all the blood, essence, battle aura, and spirit, causing him to enter a weak state on the verge of death, it wouldn't exhaust the 9 Tribulations origin. Until now, Lin Shan could only use the 9 Tribulations star once in a short period of time because it was condensed from the 9 Tribulations origin. If his doppelganger used it, it would exhaust the 9 Tribulations origin of the main body. But the vanishing shadow, flying dagger didn't. His phantom doppelganger only needed the energy of runes to condense. Furthermore, he also had the ultimate return to origin talent. As long as the vanishing shadow flying dagger was not used by the main body and was used by his doppelganger, no matter how weak he was after using it, it was just a matter of using the phantom rune again. It could be said to be a perfect combination. Lan Roashue was anxious. There were already more than 100 prodigies entering the passage, but Lin Shun still didn't move. Cultivation memory, fusion complete. Let's go. Lin Shun suddenly opened his eyes, and a sharp glint flashed across the pupils of his 5 doppelgangers. Then, he urged the Dragon Emperor to transform into his human form and rush to the front. Everyone followed closely behind. So what if they entered the ancient palace later? Lin Shun was completely open-minded. At most, it was just a matter of snatching. With his current strength, unless everyone joined forces to deal with him, there was only one word to describe it: sweep. Qin Juyan and Qin Miao had already taken a step forward and didn't wait for Lin Shun. The passage was extremely long, and everyone flew for a period of time before reaching the end. The strange thing was that there were really no signs of fighting in the passage. It was calm and peaceful. When everyone reached the end of the passage, what greeted them was an indoor space covered in dust. In a spacious room, there were counters all around. There were all kinds of cultivation techniques, dusty treasures, heavenly and earthly treasures, pills, jade bottles, ancient books, and secret techniques. There were even some rusty scrolls marked with the words Secret Realm, Dangerous Area Coordinates. However, what was even more attractive was that there were more than 100 prodigies here. Most of them were lying on the ground in a mess, foaming at the mouth and twitching all over. Damn, what's going on? Lin Shun was shocked. With his sharp spiritual sense, he realized that these prodigies weren't injured. Instead, their spiritual willpower had been severely damaged. This kind of injury wasn't an ordinary spiritual attack. It was more like a kind of collapse of one's fighting spirit. There were more than 20 prodigies on the prodigy ranking who had lost their fighting spirit. Even Qin Juyan, who was ranked the highest on the prodigy ranking, was hiding in a corner. She covered her head and trembled like a frightened snake. When she was sexy, she would arouse one's desire, but when she was afraid, she would make one feel pity for her. Qin Miao, who was beside her, didn't know what to do. What's going on? Lin Shun and the rest came to Qin Miao, and asked curiously. Young master, I don't know either. Juyan became like this after participating in the trial. Qin Miao's tears flickered. She had never seen her younger sister like this. She had lost all her fighting spirit and was trembling. Oh, another group of young people? Ha ha, you came at the right time. As long as you win one round against me, you could take away a treasure here. If you can win 6 out of 10 rounds, you will pass the trial. At this time, a wretched old man floated in the air. He grinned evilly, revealing a mouthful of yellow teeth. Lin Shun's expression turned solemn, which is a rare sight. What kind of trial was it that could make more than 100 prodigies of the 9th stage combat emperor foam at the mouth? More than 20 prodigies on the prodigy, ranking unable to recover, and even a top prodigy like Qin Juyan tremble and lose all his fighting spirit. He was afraid that this would be a tough battle. Chapter 846. What kind of trial is this? Lin Shun asked the little old man with a solemn expression. The little old man smiled wickedly and said, Scold. As long as you can beat me in scolding, you'll King pass. Lin Shun was stunned. Scold? This could also be considered a trial? Could it be that all the prodigies here had been defeated by scolding? The challenger is called Ming Jinjian, and he was once an extremely evil person in the sacred boundary. He raped and plundered, and there was nothing he wouldn't do. He once ate countless little girls alive and committed all kinds of evil. He was once a Saint Realm expert and was proficient in secret techniques that could destroy one's mind. He once possessed a half-step Saint Realm cultivation base and used secret techniques to destroy the minds of countless powerhouses, even torturing them to death. After he was killed by Master, he subdued and suppressed here his remaining spiritual power. The ethereal and graceful voice of the white-clothed woman from before sounded in the air. Now, he only has a wisp of incomplete spiritual will left, so he won't cause any substantial actual damage to the challengers. However, his existence will test your state of mind and fighting spirit. If you can withstand his spiritual destruction or successfully launch a counterattack against him, causing his mind to waver, then you'll pass the trial. Lin Chun was enlightened. He caught a hint of cruelty and viciousness in Ming Jinjian's eyes, but there was even more frustration and madness. King be *TCH. You're just a little handmaiden by the ancient sage's side. Don't King talk so much nonsense, kid. You only have 10 rounds. Whoever wins 6 rounds first will win. I've been trapped here for countless years, and it just so happens that you little brats are still wet behind the ears to relieve my boredom. Ming Jian laughed nastily. The space around Lin Chun shifted, and his entire body had already moved to a bluestone arena. It's over. Even the Black Horse Club's Lin Chun is going to fall. He's simply not human. Lin Chun can't withstand him. This kind of human-shaped demon shouldn't exist in this world. Too terrifying. Passing his trial is countless times harder than fighting him. Look at how confident he is. I also thought that I could easily win, but when that demon opened his mouth to curse, I realized how terrifying he was. His words were so unsightly, and he was using the mind disruption secret technique. No one could avoid it. Seeing Lin Chun being teleported onto the battle ring, the hundreds of Heaven's favorites who participated in the trials began to shake uncontrollably. They were trembling in fear. Even the geniuses on the genius rankings were no exception. This made Lung Yueqi, Su Gang, and the other girls worry. Mo Qing broke out in a cold sweat. He tried to calculate the outcome of this battle, but all he could see was chaos. The future was unknown. Just what kind of trial is this? Just now he said he was cursing. Could it be that cursing counts as a trial? Lan Ruoxue was a little nervous as she stared at Lin Chun's back. Lin Chun was depressed. What kind of cursing trial was this? Ming Jian grinned and opened his mouth, revealing his yellow teeth, and scolded him harshly. You damned brat. You don't even know how to respect your elders when your parents gave birth to you. Why don't you hurry up and kowtow to your grandfather to express your sincerity? You're as smelly as dog shit on the side of the road. Do you still have the face to live in this world? You've added a stench to the saints' world, polluting the holy air. Boom! Along with Ming Jian's cursing, countless waves of spiritual pressure rolled over like violent waves, causing Lin Chun's scalp to go numb. It penetrated Lin Chun's spiritual defenses and kept reverberating in his mind. This is a very special spiritual attack. Unless one's spiritual power is far superior to the opponent's spiritual abuse will invade one's spiritual sea. If one is unable to withstand it, one's mind will gradually be overwhelmed in all aspects, and then collapse, unable to recover from the setback. Lin Chun realized at lightning speed why all the geniuses had fallen. They had completely lost their will. Because this spiritual abuse, coupled with those incomparably vicious words, was too savage. Ha ha ha! Suddenly, Lin Chun burst into laughter. Countless prodigies were stunned. Even Ming Jian paused for a moment. This was the first time he had encountered a young man who could still laugh under his spiritual abuse. Then, all the handsome members of the Black Horse Club burst into laughter. Lin Chun laughed wildly. Don't get too high. After I came to this world, I finally encountered a competition that doesn't require talent and background. Cursing? Forgive me for being blunt, but in front of the Black Horse Club, you're just trash. Ming Jian was so angry that he laughed. The power of his spiritual abuse suddenly increased by a notch, and the speed of his cursing became even faster. Trash. You still have the face to know that you're trash? You're even worse than trash. You're a piece of trash that doesn't even want to live in this world. Lin Chun, are you talking to your father about you? Your sparse hair is like the feces of maggots in a pit. How can you still have the face to keep such things? Ming Jian, F asterisk CKU, banana ba, Lin Shun, ba you stinky human head dog thief. Your stupid beard is neither long nor short. Do you want to keep it to cook for the new year or burn incense for your ancestors? Ming Jian, F asterisk CKU, Lin Shun. What the F asterisk CK are you doing? You've only learned a few skills and read a few books, and you're already cursing and cursing others. You're a pig with a scallion in your nose. What are you pretending for? You don't look like a cow, and you're still pretending to be 13? People like you can't even fart. Where did you get the face to live in this world? Bam, bam, bam. Flowers fell from the sky, and golden lotuses bloomed from the ground. The two terrifying spiritual auras clashed against each other in a split second, causing multicolored light to flicker chaotically. Rays of treasure light began to shine from the shelves in all directions. The battle in the arena was like a raging storm, and everyone was completely stunned. Suppressed? Lin Shun, the vice director of the Black Horse Club, actually managed to suppress this evil demon that was so vicious that it made one's hair stand on end. He suppressed the other party to the point of defeat. Whoosh! A scroll flew out from the shelf and shone above Lin Chen's head. Every time he went around, he would be able to obtain a random treasure from the ancient sacred book. Since a top-level cultivation technique had appeared, it meant that Lin Shun had won the first round. There were still 9 rounds left. Ming Jian, how can this old man, an immortal like you? Lin Shun, how can the fluorescence of rotten grass compare to the bright moon in the sky? And you're a F asterisk king saint? You've lived for 100,000 years in vain. Go back to your mother's womb and be reborn. Remember to bring some walnuts when you go back. I'm afraid that your brain hasn't developed enough, so bring more to nourish the brain. Ming Jian, F asterisk CKU. Lin Shun, you're still too impulsive. When I scolded you, I wasn't really scolding you. This mother isn't your real mother. This mother is an illusion, a figment of your imagination. It doesn't exist in reality because it only represents my disdain and rejection of your trial. After this trial, your mother will still be your mother, and I will still be gentle, elegant, and handsome. At the same time, if I can still meet your mother face to face, I will still greet her cordially. Hello, senior. Have you eaten today? Ming Jian was so angry that his whole body twitched. For a moment, he didn't know how to answer. This young man was too abnormal. He had lived for hundreds of thousands of years, but he had never seen such a terrifying young man. Moreover, his state of mind was so strong that even he was no match for him. The strength of his mouth fragrance was like the mouth of a god. It was fine if he didn't open his mouth, but once he did, he could F asterisk king destroy the world. Boom! Because Ming Jian's mind was shaken, Lin Shun took the second cabinet. Another pill was born in the round. The dazzling light surrounded Lin Shun and strengthened his power and influence. At this moment, his silver robes were fluttering in the wind. He crossed his arms in front of his chest, showing the confidence and arrogance that could suppress the entire audience. His eyes were sharp as swords, and there was a domineering aura in his aggressive manner. Endless light shone on him, and he looked like a god descending to the mortal world at this moment. All the prodigies were dumbfounded. Their jaws almost fell to the ground. Too savage, murmurs drifted out of nowhere. Is he still human? Chapter 847. Ming Jian gritted his teeth, and his spiritual aura surged once again. He cursed angrily. F asterisk CK your ancestors. Lin Shun said, you old fogies don't deserve to have a family tree. Only the deputy director and Ming Jian were left in the entire hall and on the arena. However, Ming Jian was the one who was scolded badly every time. Lin Shun, on the other hand, was glowing brightly, and his aura was getting stronger and stronger. All the geniuses were dumbfounded. Qin Jian, who was trembling, raised her eyebrows. She thought that Lin Shun would end up like her. However, Lin Shen's aura shook the heavens, and his aura was unstoppable. He had an indescribable charm that touched Qin Jian's heart, and her eyes lit up once again. He actually suppressed that monster. So powerful. It could be said that Mr. Lin scolded Ming Jinjian from head to toe, from his hair to his toenails to his eyes. Every time, he scolded Ming Jinjian so accurately and forcefully that Ming Jinjian was about to shut up. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Another 4 rays of light flew out. Lin Shen obtained a scroll of pill recipes, a scroll of alchemy handprints, and 2 scrolls of top-notch cultivation techniques. Lin Shun had won 6 consecutive victories. The deputy director of the Black Horse Club had obtained a crushing victory. The prodigies who had lost earlier swallowed their saliva with difficulty. This deputy director was really shocking. What's there to be surprised about? This is how we, the Black Horse Club, greet each other. Lin Shen shrugged and chuckled. The 200 or so prodigies' mouths twitched. This was just a F***king greeting? Was this how the Black Horse Club greeted each other? They greeted each other's entire family tree the moment they met? In fact, this trial had some coincidences with one's background. The prodigies who could enter the ancient sacred hall were all dragons and phoenixes among men. They had been taught well since they were young, and they had to go through a lot of training and the trials of life and death. In the face of difficulties, they would not be easily discouraged. In fact, they were not profligates at all. Every one of them was an expert among the geniuses. If the various prodigies were to engage in a life-and-death battle, they wouldn't hesitate at all. However, they had never encountered an opponent like Ming Jinjian, who would spout so many obscenities, let alone use a secret technique to forcibly carve his thoughts into someone else's mind. Even if they encountered such a bandit, it would be a matter of battle for the prodigies. They would never encounter a situation where they had to rely on insults to break the other party's state of mind. But in this trial, they couldn't use force. When a person was focused on cultivating and improving their strength, where would they find the time to improve their scolding skills? Only someone like Mr. Lin, who had lived at the bottom of society since he was young, would have such experiences and a strong mental state. Therefore, in this trial, it was instead Lin Chun who held the advantage of time, place, and people. Ming Zhongjian sat on the ground in a daze. The corner of his mouth twitched. He looked like he was doubting his life. Suddenly, Lin Chen clicked his tongue and sighed. What a pity, what a pity. Hearing this, the prodigies were puzzled. What's there to pity? King passed the trial. What's there to pity? It's a pity that there are only 10 rounds. Hey, beautiful sister, can I continue for another 10 rounds? No, 100 rounds? Lin Chun shouted towards the palace, trying to summon the lady in white. This caused the corners of the heavens' favorites' mouths to twitch. They all had the same expression on their faces that said, "You're King kidding me. Crazy. He must be crazy." That kind of duel would be avoided like the plague. Every prodigy who had experienced it would be terrified. He actually wanted to go through another 100 rounds of such a crazy battle of obscenities. How arrogant and confident was he? Was he trying to ascend to the heavens? No, the rules are the rules. Everyone only has 10 rounds of opportunity. According to the rules, some of you have already passed the trial. The next trial will be open to you. The woman in white's voice sounded leisurely. Lin Chun sighed in regret. The prodigies who had lost their fighting spirit were reinvigorated. At least some of them had passed the trial. There was still a chance for the next trial. They could still continue to the next trial. There was still a chance for the ancient sage's inheritance. At this time, the last batch of prodigies had begun to arrive. Then, after some proud and arrogant geniuses understood the rules, some of them began to challenge Ming Zhan in high spirits. The scolding war started again. However, without exception, all the geniuses were scolded as idiots and then went into seclusion. Ming Zhan regained his confidence and dignity from these prodigies who challenged him. He fully realized that there were only a few prodigies like Lin Chun. His secret spiritual techniques were still able to suppress his opponents. Lin Chun obtained 2 cultivation techniques, both of which were ice type. Lin Chun just happened to pass them to Lung Yueqi and Su Lan. One of them, eightfold ice, was a defensive combat technique, while the other, frozen moon, was an offensive combat technique. Both were top-tier purple tier. The former was given to Su Lan and Lung Yuechi, while the latter was given to Lung Yuechi. In addition, there were top-tier 7th-tier pill recipes, mid-tier purple tier pill, refinement hand seals, and the ancient sage codex. This ignited Lin Chen's fighting spirit. Although he was no longer qualified to participate, all of his clones were still present. Now that he was using the 1,000 illusion mask, even a sage couldn't see through his clones. With the addition of the Dragon Emperor, he still had 6 chances to participate. Originally, Lan Ruoxue and Mo Qing were eager to give a try. However, after seeing the prodigies who participated in the trial being defeated, they completely recognized the reality. After a few struggles, they still chose to give up. Sigh, it's a pity that I don't have Sir Lin Chen's powerful mental state and spiritual power. Mo Qing sighed. Then his eyes lit up again. The people from the Black Horse Club had begun to step onto the stage. Ha ha! All of you are a bunch of trash. Mingzhen laughed wildly when he saw that he had destroyed the minds of another group of prodigies. It was as if he had regained his previous arrogance. Slap! Lin Chen's phantom clone stepped onto the stage. Mingzhen grinned sinisterly. Is there anyone else looking for a beating? Come. 15 minutes later, on the stage, the light of treasures flickered. It was like a myriad of stars surrounding the moon. The white-clothed youth was as cold as snow. It was Lin Chen's phantom clone. He flicked his fingernails and disdained to step down from the stage. All the prodigies' mouths were wide open, their faces full of disbelief. Everyone stared at Mingzhen, who had collapsed in the corner of the stage. His face was twitching, and he looked like he was doubting his life. The Black Horse Club had won again, and just like Lin Chen, they scolded the other party until they spiraled into the sky and exploded. They had completely suppressed Mingzhen. Lin Chen smiled slyly. "Old mister, I still have 5 people here." Then, Lin Chen's remaining 4 clones and the Dragon Emperor took turns to fight, making Mingzhen truly feel what despair was. 6 consecutive victories. The moment the Black Horse Club attacked, all 6 of them won, and not a single round was a loss. Too powerful. Lin Chen's subordinates are all fierce. I thought that only Lin Chen was so abnormal. I didn't expect that the people following him were all monsters not inferior to him. Even the prodigies on the prodigy rankings were amazed. This special sect, founded by a youth in his early 20s, could be said to be extremely fierce. Perhaps only the Extreme Heaven Pavilion, which had emerged in recent years, could be compared to it. Chapter 848. I'm going to kill all of you bastards. Ming Xinjian's eyes flashed with killing intent as he turned into a beam of spiritual light and charged toward Lin Shun and the others. Everything happened too quickly, and no one could react in time. Only Lin Shun instinctively prepared to activate the level 6 slowing rune. Bang! A transparent barrier enveloped Ming Xinjian, and the white-clothed woman's voice drifted over. Ming Xinjian, don't be so arrogant. Don't forget the sins you have committed. The restrained Ming Xinjian roared hysterically. Why? I've been imprisoned here for 1,000,000 years. Why won't that old bastard let me go? This is your fate. Ming Xinjian's spiritual will turned into a beam of light and was absorbed into the void. The white-clothed woman's voice resounded throughout the hall. Challengers, you may proceed to the next stage in 2 hours. Everyone heaved a sigh of relief. If Ming Xinjian went crazy, no one would be able to stop him. Looking at the shelves full of seals, many geniuses reluctantly sat down cross-legged to recuperate. There were still a lot of treasures in this hall that they couldn't take away. These were the prizes that could only be obtained by passing the trial. And the group of people from the Black Horse Club had the most bountiful harvest. Lin Chun had won a total of 7 times. Each time there were 6 rounds. He had won a large number of top-notch treasures. Some herbs were even worth tens of thousands of silver Saint Origin coins. Sacred Boundary G family residence. In a loft, a vase shattered with a bang, and a murderous aura shot into the sky. Wu Tian's battle aura imprint was shattered? Who is it? Who dares to touch my son? Yes, even Qing Ming's imprint was shattered. What's going on? Didn't they participate in the Tsangyue trial? Could there be someone in the Tsangyue trial that could threaten their lives? The ancient sacred hall. Could it be that they met with misfortune in the ancient sacred hall? No matter what, let's look at the prodigy rankings first. If they were killed by other prodigies, the other party will definitely enter the prodigy rankings and replace them. The G family's higher-ups were shocked. The moment they opened the prodigy rankings, their expressions froze. 94250 Lin Shun, mother of asterisk her. Who is this Lin Shun? There is very little information about him. Could he be one of those hidden geniuses? No. Lin Shun, isn't that the name Eldergu Lin sent back? It said that this person fought with Ji Qingming in Ice Heart Palace. Damn it, go to Ice Heart Palace and ask for her. My G clan has lost two great geniuses of this generation. This matter absolutely cannot be left at that. The pavilions in the clouds had 1,000 layers, and each layer was a layer of heaven. This was a marvelous sight in the human world. 1,000 houses in the clouds, top floor. The white-clothed young man put down the hot tea in his cup and stared at the rankings and names on the gold roll with great interest. Oh, Lin Shun, I've never heard of your name. You actually dared to touch my Extreme Heaven Pavilion's people. Interesting. Songyu's secret realm, within the ancient sacred hall. 2 hours later, most of the prodigies in the hall had regrouped. They had strong foundations and carried mental recovery pills with them. Lin Shun had obtained 10 peak purple rank cultivation techniques, 2 alchemy hand seals, 5 alchemy recipes, and 3 mental cultivation techniques. They were all extremely valuable. As for the last 5 peak 7th rank weapons, Lin Shun had given them all to Su Gang, Lung Yueqi, and Su Gang, leaving only one for himself. Lin Shun's generosity made people click their tongues, and countless female prodigies looked at Lung Yueqi and the others with envy. Asterisk creak, asterisk the giant door of the passage opened, revealing a bottomless secret passage. The group of prodigies entered one after another, heading to the next exit of the ancient sacred hall. Let's go too. Lin Shun held Lung Yueqi's delicate hand and smiled at the people behind him. The Dragon Emperor transformed into his human form behind Lin Shun, protecting Su Gang and Lung Yueqi. The 5 clones followed Lin Shun on his left and right. Everyone moved forward cautiously. This place wasn't filled with traps like the first time they entered the hall. Everyone flew past without any obstructions. Just as they were about to reach the end of the passage, there was a tearing sound and the sound of wind breaking. Bang, bang, bang. 3 afterimages rushed over from the end of the passage like a saw. Their bodies were more than 100 feet long, and they were covered in steel-like fur. Their entire bodies were releasing a savage and fierce aura. As they waved their giant arms, they slapped and injured a large number of prodigies along the way. It's the 8-armed spirit monkey from the other side of the passage. It's the ancient ferocious beast. Each of them has 99 million dragon power points. This is the power of a peak first tribulation combat emperor. Retreat. Some prodigies hurriedly retreated. These 3 big guys were only prodigies on the prodigy ranking. The prodigies on the prodigy ranking in the passage all retreated. Even if it was a one-on-one battle, they would have to fight seriously to deal with these 3 big guys. No one wanted to waste their energy here. Asterisk bang. Asterisk the 3-headed 8-armed spirit monkey rushed to Lin Shun's group as if there was no one around. Lan Ruoxue and Mo Qing were ready to fight. Unexpectedly, Lin Shun raised his hand. It's not your turn to attack. As soon as he finished speaking, a green light circulated around the clones. The moment the 7 transformations was activated, the 3 clones pulled out the saber hilts at their waists. A golden light flashed, and a golden saber as thin as a cicada's wing appeared in their hands. The saber light flashed, and all of them unleashed their pure strength. Asterisk rip. Asterisk, asterisk, boom. Asterisk, a golden saber light swept across like snowflakes. 3 horizontal lines of light illuminated the entire passage, reflecting the astonishment of countless prodigies and the shocked looks of the prodigies on the prodigy ranking. 3 golden streams of light suddenly shot out, and the saber light pierced through the 3-headed, 8-armed spirit monkey. The violent and ferocious beasts instantly calmed down. Asterisk, boom. Asterisk, the spirit monkey collapsed. Its head separated, and a fist-sized purple ferocious beast core rolled out. Instant kill. All the prodigies sucked in a cold breath. This was a spirit monkey comparable to a peak First Tribulation combat emperor. The Black Horse Club and the rest only used one move? Even Shui Tianso and the other prodigies on the prodigy ranking didn't have such strength. However, what shocked the prodigies on the prodigy ranking even more was another matter. Qin Jian stared at the 3 people beside Lin Shun and said softly, "It can't be wrong. This is Ji Wutian's vanishing shadow flying dagger technique." "How can you know it?" Ji Wutian's vanishing shadow flying dagger. It was very obvious that the Black Horse Club and the rest didn't know the vanishing shadow flying dagger at all. Otherwise, the battle with the 5 prodigies wouldn't have dragged on for so long. When he thought about it this way, an even more frightening thought appeared. Could it be that the Black Horse Club's members learned the vanishing shadow flying dagger technique in such a short time after Ji Wutian's death? Su Qing's pretty face stiffened when she saw all of this. As a swordsman, she understood the difficulty of learning this vanishing shadow flying dagger better. This combat skill was superb, and it was superior to most of the top purple-tier combat skills. This was too monstrous. How long had it been? What was even scarier was that it wasn't just one person who knew it. All 3 of them knew it. The clone walked forward to collect the chi and blood attribute light balls that had fallen. Someone Lin held the cracked, ferocious beast core and was very dissatisfied. "The 3 of you go back and write a reflection. You did far for good enough. Look, your explosive power is not enough, your strength is not accurate enough, and your speed is not up to standard. Look, you even damaged the spirit monkey's ferocious beast core. If I were the one who did it, would it be such a flaw? This wasn't good enough?" Many prodigies were so angry that they almost vomited blood on the spot. Gosh, he was still not satisfied. Were all the people in the Black Horse Club monsters? And from his tone, it seemed like he had also learned the vanishing shadow flying dagger technique. Damn, what kind of monsters were in the Black Horse Club? Chapter 849. What a bunch of freaks. Don't compare. Don't compare yourself to these guys. These bastards are a bunch of freaks. Some of the geniuses tried their best to console themselves. Only the geniuses on the genius roll truly sensed a sense of danger. The Black Horse Club's members were too abnormal. To be precise, they had grown too quickly. They had never seen any young prodigies from any faction grow at such a terrifying speed. It was especially obvious for Su Qing and Drunken Sword. They had fought with the Black Horse Club in the underground world, but they had undergone earth-shattering changes in less than 10 days. Yes, my pure strength has reached 99 million dragon power points. When I use this pure strength to use my flying daggers, the power of my flying daggers will be greatly enhanced. In my ultimate state, my clone can kill a peak First Tribulation stage ferocious beast with just one dagger. Lin Shun seemed to be criticizing them on the surface, but he was actually very satisfied. He kept the ferocious beast cores and continued forward. At the end of the secret passage was actually a vast primitive world. Tall mountains and ancient trees formed a forest. Many high-grade rare ores were like stones that could be seen everywhere on the roadside. The ancient trees in the forest bore wonderful fruits that flowed with extraordinary colors and fragrance. There were also countless ferocious beasts roaring here. It was like a paradise. Some high-grade ferocious beasts sensed the human aura at the entrance of the secret passage and immediately gathered in large numbers. To be able to open up an independent dimension in the palace, this is a power that only sages have. Snatch! There are so many secret treasures here. Oh my God. There are also large amounts of spirit flowers and precious herbs. Just a small amount can be exchanged for endless wealth. Boom! Almost as soon as they entered, all the prodigies rushed in all directions to collect the massive amount of cultivation resources. There were even some ancient trees with lush branches and leaves that shone with the silver glow of silver St. Origin coins. In just a few breaths, the place was in chaos. Everyone was fighting like crazy. Mo Qingyu and Lan Ruoxue, who were following Lin Chun, also couldn't help but join the large group that was collecting resources. However, just as everyone was about to attack, Lin Chen's pupils suddenly trembled. Qin Jian was the same. She and Lin Chun stared at the 3,000-meter-tall tomb at the center of the forest at almost the same time. The door of the tomb was tightly shut, but it emitted a deep and mysterious fluctuation. It can't be. Qin Jian's heart trembled in fear. This tomb was clearly the ancient tomb that had used gold St. Origin coins as bait to kidnap many geniuses. There was also an extremely terrifying creature residing inside. It was also in the ancient sage hall. Qin Jian was very clear about the strength of the strange creature in the tomb. Even if everyone here joined forces, they might not be a match for it. Great! F***CK. This thing is actually in the ancient sage hall. Last time, it ran away quickly, but this time, it won't be so simple. Lin Chun jumped up in excitement. Last time, he let this damned thing escape. This time, he must succeed. There was a dark-type odd crystal fragment and a 5-light supreme treasure chest. System. Activate Sovereign's Descent. Consumed 500,000 talent points to activate Sovereign's Descent. Entering the state of accumulating energy, 0 points. The creature hidden in the tomb was extremely strong, and Lin Chun had to kill it in one strike. Even if he couldn't kill it, he had to restrict its movements to ensure that he could take away the attribute treasure chest and the odd crystal fragment in its body. Let's disperse first, Lin Chun said to the girls around him and pulled Lung Yueqi to the other side. The Dragon Emperor protected the two sisters while the 5 clones activated the innate shadow technique to hide in the void and launch a surprise attack on the ferocious beasts in the vast wilderness. Swish, swish, swish. The 5 clones quickly harvested the many high-level ferocious beasts in the vast wilderness. Like the other geniuses, they were constantly harvesting the lives of other ferocious beasts while snatching a huge amount of resources. A huge battle began, and the vast wilderness was filled with ferocious beasts. Accumulating energy, 150,000 points, 290,000 points, 600,000 points. The Sovereign's Descent accumulated energy at an extremely fast speed. On the other side, Lin Chun and Lung Yueqi worked together. He used the Water Calamity body to use Bright Moon Mirror to slash out endless Water Calamity Blade Chi to attack a large number of ferocious beasts. Together with Lung Yueqi's Icy Battle Chi, 1 water and 1 ice complemented each other, and the power was even stronger. The current Lung Yueqi was not inferior to Lin Chun in terms of strength. She had already cultivated proud 9 heavens to perfection, and now she was cultivating the Ice Heart Palace's exceptional ice soul. This mental cultivation method was half orange grade and was said to be an incomplete orange grade mental cultivation method. Coupled with Lung Yueqi's 9 absolute cold meridians body, she was extremely strong. She was an existence that could fight against 6 geniuses on the genius list. Moreover, she had yet to reveal her trump card, and her strength was unfathomable. If Lin Chun didn't use Azure Bright Moon and the level 6 slow rune, he might not be able to suppress Lung Yueqi. Seeing Lin Chun move, Qin Jian pulled his sister and rushed into the wasteland, wanting to catch up to Lin Chun. Sister, we can't fall behind. Qin Miaoer hesitated, but don't worry, I know Sister Miaoer doesn't want to kill people. Let's just snatch some treasures, right? We can't always come here, right? Qin Jian rolled his eyes and calmed down half of his heart. At the very least, he believed in Lin Chun. He was the only one who could make the living beings in the tomb retreat. Then, Following him would not be wrong. A purgatory venomous python took advantage of the gap in Lin Chen's attack and pounced behind Lin Chen like lightning. Chi! The arrow was like an icy light that froze the purple-black purgatory venomous python. Lung Yueqi's dress fluttered like smoke as she stood behind Lin Chen like a fairy in the clouds. She brushed her hair behind her ear and smiled sweetly. It's been a long time since we fought side by side like this, right? Your growth rate has always been the fastest. Lin Chen pushed back 2 heavenly blaze tigers with a single slash and said with a mischievous smile, "Then, Sister Yueqi, you have to work hard to cultivate. Who knows? I might have to rely on you in the future." The two of them chatted and laughed as they galloped through the entire wasteland, as if they were entering an uninhabited land. It was as if they had returned to the time when they were exploring the evil king's secret realm. The Lin Chen of the past had thought that he was going to die in the evil king's secret realm, so he had personally carved a snow wedding dress for Lung Yueqi. While the battle in the ancient sage hall was in full swing, 7 figures were floating in the air above the surface of the sea, where huge waves were surging. The auras of these 7 people were not inferior to the geniuses on the genius ranking. What was more shocking was that of the 3 geniuses on the genius ranking who had participated in the battle outside the ancient Saint Temple. 2 of them had their heads tied to the waist of the leading young man. They had died with their eyes open. The young man's face was pale and handsome, but there was a chilling, murderous intent. He stared at the bottom of the ancient Saint Temple and smiled eerily. According to the ancestors, when the ancient saint fell here, he specially left a teleportation array here to select an inheritor. Today, my secret pavilion has specially set up the 7 slaughter array. No inheritor will be able to escape from my 7 slaughter array. The blood-red robed young man cackled, arrogant and hysterical. Yueqi, hurry up and come out. I can't wait to get you. I want both the beauty and the inheritance. Ha ha ha. If I have the chance, I'll even kill all the geniuses on the genius ranking in the ancient Saint Temple. This person was the young pavilion master of the secret pavilion, a 4th-rank sect. His strength was extremely terrifying. Even the top geniuses on the genius ranking could not escape from him. Ordinary geniuses on the genius ranking could not even last 100 rounds against him. If it was a sneak attack, it would be a one-hit kill. Chapter 850. Most people still didn't know that a huge net had been set up outside the ancient sage temple. Inside the ancient sage temple, a fierce battle broke out everywhere. Lin Chen didn't waste time on either side. The number of blue and white attribute light balls scattered throughout the vast wilderness exceeded Lin Chen's expectations. There were a large number of attribute light balls that could be used to strengthen his attributes. Host has received 102 attribute points, 89 attribute points, 150 attribute points. Although the beasts here were strong, most of them were First Tribulation Combat Emperors or below. Thus, it became the main battlefield for the geniuses. Rumble. After an hour, when more than half of the beasts in the wasteland were killed, the tomb trembled slightly. How many tens of thousands of years has it been? Finally, an inheritor is here. Ha ha! Sharp laughter echoed in the wasteland. The door of the tomb opened and countless shadows rushed into the sky. Countless shadows swept across the wasteland like huge waves, alarming countless geniuses. Lin Chen squinted his eyes and stopped fighting with Lung Yueqi. He looked at the tomb and said, "Has it finally awakened?" He glanced at the system and saw that the sovereign's descent had accumulated 6 million energy points. This attribute was second only to the sovereign's descent he used to fight against the false god. Its increase was second only to that time. His trump card had been completed. What is that? I don't know, but its aura is very strange. Something's wrong. Retreat. The geniuses who were fighting for resources immediately regained their senses and retreated. That thing is coming out. You know about it, right? Do you have a way to deal with it? Qin Jian brought Qin Miao, and rushed to Lin Chen's side. He laughed and shook his head. I don't have a way. We will only know after we fight. With a thought, Lin Shen summoned all his clones and the Dragon Emperor to protect the Su sisters. Chi. Countless black shadows filled the wasteland like fog, binding a large number of geniuses in place. This scene was just like before. Damn it, why can't this thing circulate my battle chi? What kind of strange creature is this? No. Many Sky Prides screamed in horror as their battle chi was completely suppressed. There were also some geniuses on the genius ranking who were good at movement techniques. Even if they were touched by the shadows, they could still escape unscathed. Its power has decreased? Could it be that its power will weaken as the target's strength increases? Qin Jian was overjoyed. The stronger the target, the more the strange creature's power would be divided. Oh, it seems that there are quite a few people who are quite capable this time. They are much stronger than those from last time. I hope they can give me some fun. Strange laughter came from the tomb at the center of the great wasteland, and the dark aura surged even faster. Sister Yuechi, be careful. I have another way to deal with it. Lin Chen instructed. His body turned into a dark shadow and slipped into the void, retreating further and further away. At this moment, his 5 clones rose into the air and suddenly shouted. All the geniuses on the genius ranking work together to deal with this big guy, or we'll all die. Lin Chen's 5 doppelgangers' voices spread throughout the entire wasteland as the 44 geniuses on the genius ranking narrowed their eyes. Rip! Blade light, sword shadows, spiritual attacks, and arrows tore through the air. Lin Chen's 5 doppelgangers took the lead and attacked the black shadow that filled the sky. Forget it, the Black Horse Club has also made a move. Let's do it too. That strange creature is indeed extraordinary. We can't give it a chance to gradually break through us. Let's attack. I don't listen to the Black Horse Club's orders. I was going to attack it anyway. Nearly 40 geniuses on the genius ranking instantly took a stand and attacked the shadow from different directions. Lung Yuechi also joined the attack. Only the Dragon Emperor protected the Su sisters tightly. The attacks of nearly 40 geniuses were so powerful that the wind and clouds within 1,000 miles changed. The sky was filled with explosions from the aftermath of the battle chi attacks. Many geniuses were saved as the shadow retreated. Bang! 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 The tomb exploded, and the shadow's aura was pushed back a little. Seeing that it was effective, everyone immediately increased their attacks and quickly distanced themselves from each other to prevent their attacks from colliding and canceling each other out. The tomb was blasted into pieces, but the darkness inside became more and more profound. By the time some geniuses on the genius ranking realized that something was wrong, it was already too late. Ha! A bunch of idiots. You've been fooled. I've been waiting for you to exhaust your energy to attack me. An ear-piercing, derisive laugh echoed out from within the necropolis. Rumbling sounds could be heard, and the ground cracked. Countless shadows shot out from beneath the ground, piercing through the participating beasts and absorbing their life force for their own use. Wherever they passed, all life force was sucked dry. Chi! Chi! The shadows covered the sky like a curtain and pounced on everyone. Many geniuses on the genius ranking were shocked. No, you're the one who's been fooled. When the young man's cold laughter rang out, a young and tall figure disappeared from the shadows and appeared right above the tomb. It's you? The strange creature in the tomb was shocked speechless. When did this human youth sneak into its side? Sovereign's Descent has been activated. It will increase the host's next attack. Accumulated energy, 6 million points. Using level 5 charge and penetration rune to activate ultimate moment. Sovereign's Descent has been increased. Vanishing Shadow, Flying Dagger. Lin Shun placed his hand on his waist and condensed pure energy. 9 Tribulations Battle Aura condensed on the hilt of the dagger. With a whoosh, a golden light turned into an afterimage. There was no need to hide at all. The flying dagger sliced open a golden radiance that illuminated the entire great wasteland and shot straight towards the tomb. It was like the reflection of the golden radiance under the dusk of the gods, reflecting only the silence before death. Boom! The dagger fell like dusk. The door of the tomb was damaged, and the shadow creature was focused on dealing with all the geniuses on the genius ranking. It had no time to notice that someone was approaching it. No, the shadow creature wanted to defend, but found that there was nothing to defend against. It wanted to escape, but it couldn't outrun the speed of the golden light. And Lin Shun was waiting for this moment. He used the 5 clones to take the lead and mobilized all the geniuses on the genius ranking to attack together to attract its attention. When the golden light flying dagger cut through the air, its power increased sharply. This dagger used all of Lin Chen's current strength and was even supported by the Sovereign's Descent talent. Its sharpness was unstoppable. As if it was going to split the world, it cut the shadow in half and turned into a rainbow that fell on the wasteland's earth vein. Lin Shun used infinite silent steps and the black handle golden calamity and 3-inch calamity to protect his body. He didn't care about anything else and rushed into the exploded shadow. Although this dagger was powerful, he wasn't sure if it could kill the other party. His goal was the odd crystal fragment and the 5-light treasure chest. All the geniuses on the genius ranking could only watch as a golden light fell and tore the darkness apart. The silver-robed youth jumped down and grabbed the center of the shadow. The first thing he touched was the 5-light supreme treasure chest. Host has opened the 5-light supreme treasure chest. You have obtained a permanent orange talent, Split Shadows Fragment. Split Shadows, 2 halves, has been automatically synthesized into a completed talent. Congratulations to the host for obtaining the first permanent orange talent. Chapter 851. A permanent orange talent. It was actually a permanent orange talent. Lin Chen's random thought back then actually came true. Lin Chen had never been so excited and ecstatic before. The first orange talent that belonged to him, Lin Chen, was finally in his hands. Lin Chen couldn't care too much. The golden radiance cut the shadow in half. He suddenly used the dark steps and moved through the void, grabbing the dark type odd crystal fragment. This odd crystal fragment was very big, almost 1/5 of a complete odd crystal. It was far bigger than all the odd crystal fragments that Lin Shun had obtained before. No, don't. I finally ate tens of thousands of humans to condense this odd crystal fragment. The shadow creature kept begging for mercy. Lin Shun didn't say anything and pulled out the odd crystal fragment. With a few cracking sounds, the countless meridians connected to the odd crystal fragment were all broken. Jeep! With a shrill scream, the endless dark shadows disappeared. Lin Shun didn't even know what this dark shadow creature's true form was before it died and disappeared. All that was left was a dilapidated tomb standing in the middle of the wasteland. Lin Shun quickly kept the diamond-shaped, odd crystal fragment into his storage ring. When he landed, he saw a magical scene. His flying knife had cut the tomb into 2 and cut a 300-meter-long crack in the ground. Only at the end of the crack was a purple-black pattern. Egg? That's right. Even Lin Shen's peerless sovereign's descent couldn't cut into the egg. Lin Shun strode forward and found that this egg was actually stirring up a slightly throbbing vitality. This egg is nurturing vitality. There's a brand new life. Lin Shun was stunned, but he didn't have time to study it at this moment. He couldn't hide creatures in his storage ring, so he could only keep it in his peach blossom plant pouch. However, Lin Shun didn't realize the seriousness of the problem at this time. When he put the egg into the peach garden plant pouch, the large amount of silver Saint Origin coins and natural treasures that he had plundered in the great wilderness started to throb slightly. With the purple-black striped egg as the center, they formed a whirlpool that sucked everything over like a storm. All the medicinal ingredients that he had obtained earlier were all sucked up by this strange egg. But at this moment, as long as a certain Lin Ming released a sliver of his will into the peach blossom plant pouch, he would be able to sense this change. But he didn't. His attention was completely focused on the system. He turned on the system and clicked on the talent bar. A screen appeared. Orange talent, instant split shadow. It can be used by consuming talent points and has no cooldown time. It is suitable for all of the host's characteristic runes and can split all attacks into 5. Lin Shun sucked in a breath of cold air. This is an orange talent with no cooldown. Uncontrollable ecstasy rushed to his heart, and Lin Shun laughed without restraint. Ha 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 ha! This is great. I didn't waste so much of my energy. I finally got you. Hearing his wild laughter, countless prodigies were enraged, and their veins were exposed. Those on the genius list were so angry that their faces almost turned green. They were actually being used by Lin Shun as cannon fodder, and everyone had just witnessed him personally taking away an odd crystal fragment and the mysterious purple egg in the center of the tomb. Everyone clearly realized that they were being used as targets. They had been completely toyed with by Lin Shun, and they had been thoroughly used. It was one thing for him to be thankless, but he had even made a trip to the gates of hell, and all the benefits had been taken away by Lin Shun. Damn it! How could they tolerate this? If they took a step back, everything would be fine. If they took a step forward, the more they thought about it, the more they suffered. At this moment, regardless of gender, all the prodigies on the genius list were furious. Lin Shun, hand over the odd crystal fragment and the egg. Damn it! How dare you use all of us? Do you really think your Black Horse Club is invincible? Damn you! How dare you use your grandpa Abyss Demon as a tool? You have guts. 35 prodigies on the genius list rushed forward. Their auras were violent as they glared at Lin Shun. Their killing intent was exposed as they surrounded him. The 5 clones instantly returned to Lin Chen's side. The Dragon Emperor covered the Su sisters and retreated to the side. Qin Miao hesitated. Qin Jian hurriedly pulled his sister's slender hand. Sister, no matter what, we can't get involved in this matter. We can't forget our purpose here. We can't let anything happen to the two of us. Qin Miao gritted her teeth and fell silent. The aura outside the tomb became more and more intense. Lung Yueqi immediately came to Lin Chen's side and stood with him. She was like a goddess in ice and snow, aloof and beautiful. As long as she could be with him, even if she had to face the entire world, Lung Yueqi would have no regrets. Lin Shun, hand over the egg and the odd crystal fragment. Otherwise, don't blame us for being ruthless. How dare you trick us? You don't have the right to have those 2 treasures. Liao Yuanma held his blade and warned Lin Shun with a murderous aura. Not only were there 35 prodigies on the genius list, but there were also hundreds of prodigies eyeing Lin Shun covetously. No matter how strong Lin Shun and the Black Horse Club were, it was impossible for them to fight against all the prodigies present alone. This was a fact that everyone recognized. The genius list wasn't composed of people from all walks of life. Every time a prodigy joined forces, it would lead to an alliance that would multiply their combat strength. Lin Shun raised his eyebrows slightly and smiled in a carefree manner. Oh, there are only 2 treasures. If I hand them over, how do you plan to split them? Liao Yuanma laughed sinisterly. You want to sow discord between us? We will solve the problem of splitting the loot ourselves. It's not up to you to worry about us. Yes, since you dare to use us, you're destined to not have the right to touch this item. The prodigies pressed on. Most of them didn't believe that Lin Shun would unleash that killing move again. It was impossible to unleash such a killing move without paying a price. Even if he could use it again, how many prodigies could he target with so many prodigies present? Therefore, all the prodigies on the genius list wanted to take him down and snatch the treasures and secrets of the Black Horse Club and the others. The benefits were worth the risk. Wait a minute. At this moment, a stream of light flashed and blocked the 2 sides. It was Qin Miao. Didn't young hero Lin Chen kill that strange creature and save us all? How can you repay his kindness with ingratitude? If it weren't for him, all of us might not have been a match for that creature. Instead, many of us would have died in the previous situation, wouldn't we? Qin Miao plucked up her courage and transmitted her voice to everyone. Her words made some prodigies speechless. The situation was indeed very urgent. If it weren't for Lin Shun, at least half of them would have died in the hands of that creature. But so what? Humans die for wealth, just as birds die for food. The huge benefits were enough to make everyone abandon all rationality. The Black Horse Club had too many secrets, which had long attracted the attention of most of the prodigies. In particular, the fact that they had learned the vanishing shadow flying dagger in a very short period of time made countless prodigies jealous and fanatical. If they could get their hands on this secret, they might have a chance to occupy a place on the legendary genius list in the future, bringing glory to their ancestors and becoming legendary figures. Cut the crap. No matter what you say, this guy used us. We almost died because of him. Chi Miao, don't think that just because you're ranked 90,000 on the genius list, I can stop you alone. Liao Yuanmao warned ferociously. His entire body was covered with majestic saber chi and murderous intent. Miss Chi Miao, please step back. Several female prodigies warned Chi Miao, if you want to attack young hero Lin Shun, then count me in. Chi Miao, gritted her teeth. She was usually reserved and obedient, but she actually took the initiative to face a battle with such a resolute attitude. Qin Jian, who was at the side, was stunned. Chapter 852. Sister Miao, who had always been obedient, gentle, and kind since she was young, actually took the initiative to face a battle? Sigh, since Sister Miao, has already expressed her stance, then I have no reason to refuse. Qin Jian smiled charmingly. Her figure flashed, and she stood beside her sister, standing in Lin Chen's camp. Everyone calm down. They are not our match. Liao Yuanmao took the lead and sneered. Lin Chen's side only had 9 people at most. The Dragon Emperor beside him seemed to want to protect his women and didn't dare to participate in the battle. 9 against 35? There was no way to fight at all. Moreover, there were more than 100 prodigies here. Among them, there were several ruthless characters who could fight against the genius list. This force wasn't weak either. Unless these 9 people were all ranked 85,000th on the genius list, only then would they be able to escape. Just escape. Otherwise, there was only one inevitable outcome for this battle. Lan Ruoxue and Mo Qing broke out in cold sweat. This kind of battle was too heavy for the two of them. If they chose a side easily, they might die here. In the end, after a complicated sigh, the two of them chose to remain silent. His silver robe fluttered as Lin Chun slowly walked through the air to the middle of the 2 girls. He whistled and casually stroked the long black hair of the 2 girls, causing Qin Miao to let out a delicate cry. Qin Jian rolled her charming eyes at him with a murderous look, but with a biting cold, killing intent. The young man's long eyelashes raised with a hint of coquettishness as he smiled slyly. I know it's hard to find a man more handsome than me in the entire sacred boundary, but you two are so proactive, and you're even together. I'm very embarrassed. You two should step aside for this kind of group fight. Girls, let's do it another day. With that said, the wind calamity battle chi in his palm moved like a storm. With a gentle push, a powerful and gentle hurricane pushed the 2 girls away, and they floated into the distance. Oh, are you planning to surrender and hand over the purple egg and the odd crystal fragment? Liao Yuanmao sneered. Lin Shun clicked his tongue and laughed. You're a big man, yet you keep asking me for my eggs. Aren't you ashamed? You won't give me your eggs, but I do have a big black gun. You can ask the prettiest girl in your family to come get it. Liao Yuanmao glared at Lin Shun. Seeing that Lin Shun had no intention of surrendering, all the geniuses immediately prepared to attack. Their battle chi surged, and the atmosphere was on the verge of exploding. Lin Shun looked around at all the sky prides and laughed mockingly. We, the Black Horse Club, don't have any strong points, but we respect the old and love the young. We're handsome, but at the same time, we like to be fair. Now, I'll give everyone here a fair choice. If you back down, I'll let bygones be bygones. If you move forward, your life and death will be decided by God. I'll only say this once. Lin Chen's words caused many of the geniuses on the Prodigy ranking to laugh out loud. Was this guy still dreaming? Over 109th tier, late-stage prodigies, and 35 prodigies on the Prodigy roll. With such a lineup, even a prodigy ranked 80,000 on the Prodigy roll would most likely perish. Very good. No one backs down. Looks like all of you are brave. Then come at me. Ha ha ha. Lin Chen laughed wildly. With a clang, a bright blue saber appeared in his hand. Before the crowd had time to be surprised, they saw a scene that made their scalps go numb. The other 5 members of the Black Horse Club were fearless in the face of all the Sky Prides. They all pulled out a flying saber. 4 gold and 1 blue saber. Looking at this posture, could it be the Vanishing Shadow flying saber? Damn! Could it be that all the members of the Black Horse Club have learned the Vanishing Shadow flying saber? The Sky Pride's mouths twitched. This is too crazy. What kind of monsters are in the Black Horse Club? The blue flying saber was obtained by Lin Chen from the previous trial. It was a famous water-type saber, deep blue. It was a 7th level top-notch, superior grade saber. Lung Yueqi stood quietly with her hands behind her back. Lin Chen actually asked her to step aside. He had no intention of attacking. How can he be so reckless? He even sent us out. He will be killed. Qin Miao, who had been pushed hundreds of miles away, was burning with anxiety. She wanted to rush up to support Lin Chen again. Sister Miao, he is doing this for your own good. Don't act rashly. If you rush up now, you will disturb him. Qin Jian hurriedly stopped her. Both sides had already started their attacks. It would only take an instant for them to attack. Colorful battle chi shone in all directions. From the sky to the ground, attacks with hidden killing intent were all aimed at one location. The 5 clones stood proudly beside Lin Chen, each holding a flying saber. Their expressions did not change, and they remained calm. As for Lin Chen, he held the azure moon in his hand, and his aura rose steadily. His hair fluttered in the wind, and his silver robe fluttered. The strong wind could not disturb his eyes, and the aura condensed by the geniuses could not suppress his waist. His pair of clear eyes revealed an unyielding sharpness. It was as if an overlord had personally descended, suppressing the entire world. At this moment, Qin Jian's heart inexplicably surged with the fear of death. Almost subconsciously, she hugged Qin Miao's slender waist and retreated with her sister without saying a word. Rumble. A sword light illuminated heaven and earth, revealing a domineering aura that soared into the 9 heavens. It was unknown which genius made the first move, but immediately after this sword, a mountain flood erupted. The destructive aura of tens of thousands of volcanoes erupted at the same time, shaking the entire wasteland until it was on the verge of collapse. Countless saber auras, sword auras, spear auras, axe shadows, palm winds, and fist prints were brewing hundreds of attacks, thousands of changes, and tens of thousands of attacks, including pure strength, battle chi, spiritual power, the power of odd crystals, bloodline abilities, ancient secret techniques, mysterious weapons, hidden weapons, and so on. That might was like a huge wave sweeping over from all directions, as if it wanted to smash Lin Chen into pieces. Even the earth veins and the sky above his head were filled with endless attacks. Before the attack arrived, the momentum had already risen, and just the aura alone seemed to be able to shatter countless experts. At this moment, the clones moved together, and a faint green light circulated around their bodies. They condensed all of their spiritual power, vital energy, and battle chi into one attack. The flying saber in their hands turned into a golden light that flashed. The golden light was like a rainbow crossing the sky. It was like a touch of dusk from the age of gods, bringing away the setting sun and ushering in nirvana. The 4th style of the Vanishing Shadow flying saber. Lin Chen ordered his clones to decisively use their strongest move. It was a half-orange rank move, and its power was infinitely close to an orange rank cultivation technique. For rays of golden light and a blue light flashed. Chi. What followed was the sound of air being sliced apart. Ha ha! 149 prodigies, 35 prodigies on the genius ranking, fighting for my orange rank talent. Come on. Lin Chen laughed wildly and was filled with pride. The brand new moon mirror technique was suddenly activated and pure strength exploded. He swept his arm, and with one slash, the water moon god illuminated thousands of miles, and the moonlight flashed for hundreds and thousands of miles. The slash split heaven and earth, and the bright and resplendent moonlight roared as it slashed horizontally. What a terrifying attack. The people of the Black Horse Club actually all used Vanishing Shadow, Flying Saber. Mo Qing sucked in a breath of cold air, but he immediately realized an even more shocking fact. The charm and attainment of this flying saber had completely surpassed Ji Wutian. It was a whole new realm. Could it be that the people of the Black Horse Club not only learned Vanishing Shadow Flying Saber in such a short time, but also cultivated it to a realm that even Ji Wutian, who was ranked 94250, couldn't reach? How was this possible? Chapter 853. Was it possible to master the peak purple rank Vanishing Shadow Flying Dagger in less than 2 days and surpass Ji Wutian's Vanishing Shadow Flying Dagger? Moreover, it wasn't just one person, but 5 people who had achieved this. However, Mo Qing had no choice but to believe it when the truth was right in front of his eyes. What a heaven-defying attack! To be able to unleash such an attack with the cultivation of a late stage of the 9th layer. This is unheard of. Perhaps it's the legendary orange rank combat skill, but it's not enough to withstand all the attacks. 1,000 miles away, Lan Ruoxue's palms were sweating as she stared at the situation in front of her. Counting the attacks of the 149 geniuses and the 35 geniuses on the genius ranking, this was equivalent to the combined attacks of more than 60 geniuses on the genius ranking. It was too difficult for 6 people to withstand it. Even if it was an orange rank combat skill, it was still impossible. Unless Lin Chen and the others were all 3rd Tribulation Combat Emperors or above, then the orange grade combat skills they used would be completely different from normal combat skills. The Black Horse Club had been destroyed. Just as this thought flashed across everyone's mind, a cold shout resounded throughout the vast wilderness. Die! Host activated the orange rank innate skill. Instant light split shadows. The innate skill can be used 6 times, applicable to all characteristic runes, and consumed 66 million talent points. Rumble. In a fraction of a second, the Black Horse Club's attacks suddenly changed. The shining golden and blue saber shadow split into 5 in an instant. The shocking moonlight that was supported by the unique power of an 8th grade saber also split into 5, just like the golden flying dagger. This sudden change caught all the geniuses and geniuses by surprise. They didn't even have time to react before the attacks from both sides collided, causing an earth-shattering explosion. Sacred Boundary, East Phoenix Pavilion of the Mystic Realm. Today, the famous 3 elders of the Eastern Phoenix of the Holy World had gathered here to drink tea and play chess. It was a joyous occasion. 2 of the elders were concentrating on the chessboard, while the other elder was bored and sipping tea while reading the gold ranking. Suddenly, the dozens of names on the gold ranking dimmed and finally disappeared. The old man spat out a mouthful of hot tea, splashing it all over the 2 old men who were playing chess. Silver Phoenix, are you F** King crazy? If you want to drink tea, then drink tea. Why the hell are you spraying? This shirt was embroidered by my old lover. Look at what you've done. The other 2 elders were shocked and angry. What was going on? Why was he spitting? He saw that the old man called Silver Phoenix paid no attention to him and stared fixedly at the name that had dimmed on the gold roll. 1518. A total of 18 geniuses on the genius ranking dimmed and disappeared at the same time. This means that they most likely died at the same time. The Silver Phoenix old man cried out involuntarily in shock. He was so shocked that the other 2 old men were shocked as well. They hurriedly looked at the numerous names on the gold rankings. Based on their experience, the fall of a genius on the genius ranking was nothing more than a fuss. Even though the sacred boundary was known as the ceiling of hundreds of millions of geniuses, the competition for the 100,000 spots on the genius ranking was still very fierce. Every year, there would be changes of hundreds or even thousands of spots. This was not surprising at all. In the history of the sacred boundary, it was not surprising that a few geniuses on the genius ranking would die in a single day. However, 18 of them died at the same time in an instant. This was almost unprecedented. Moreover, it was not the same day, but the same instant. This was almost unprecedented in the past. However, in the next moment, what made the three old men's scalps go numb was that in almost an instant, another 5 names on the gold roll dimmed. No, it was 8. When they finally confirmed it, they realized that there were 12 names. 12 plus 18, 30. The 3 old men instantly sucked in a breath of cold air. 30 geniuses on the genius ranking had died at the same time. What the F***CK was going on? One had to know that the geniuses on the genius ranking were not people from all walks of life, nor were they rotten fish or shrimp. They were all the major sects and clans in the sacred boundary, and only 1 or 2 of them could be nurtured after exhausting endless resources. Even if a saint personally took in a disciple, he might not be able to nurture a genius on the genius ranking. To nurture a genius of this level, not only did it require manpower, but also endless opportunities, resources, talent, luck, and experience. There were too many factors that could only be possible if one of them was monopolized. The geniuses on the genius ranking would definitely have many life-saving methods. What had caused such a large number of them to die? However, among those dim names, there were no names that could be substituted. Could it be that they had encountered a large-scale calamity that could destroy the world? At this time, only one name rose, and it was particularly eye-catching. It rose all the way to the highest place on the genius ranking. Genius ranking 92333. Lin Shun. Title none. Sect Black Horse Club. Sect grade none. Cultivation methods unknown. Talent unknown. Physique unknown. Origin unknown. Sacred boundary. Mysterious realm. Sacred sword pavilion. Did this old man see wrongly? 30 geniuses on the genius ranking suddenly disappeared. My son Tianjian. No, who killed my son? Damn it. I'm going to kill his whole family. A hoarse roar echoed in the sacred sword pavilion. Southern Territory, Western Sky Palace. Several old men came out of seclusion. One of them, a white-haired old man, was pushing the green crystal abacus in his hand. After a while, he stroked his long beard and narrowed his eyes. According to this old man's preliminary deduction, most of these geniuses came from the mysterious realm. The secret territory they entered was the Tsanyue secret territory that was discovered a few years ago. Could it be that there was a shocking change in the Tsanyue secret territory? Hey, look, there's a new name rising. Black Horse Club. Lin Shun. Lin Shun. Lin Shunham? Don't tell me it's Lin Shun, the one who descended to the mortal world to search for Qing Xian in her early years, and the one she admires? The moon veins meandered, and palaces stood in great numbers. There were thousands of flower curtains, competing with each other for beauty. This mountain range was called the Thousand Charm Moon Veins, and it was controlled by the Thousand Charm Palace. In recent years, the Thousand Charm Palace's momentum had been very high, and it seemed that they were going to become a 4th-ranked sect. The Thousand Charm Palace originally had 3 geniuses on the genius ranking, but recently, 2 more geniuses were added to the genius ranking. They were the extremely cunning Yulin Lin, who was ranked 97775, and the Thousand Poison Beauty Lu Lin Air, who was ranked 98441. The 2 of them were known as the 2 beauties of the Thousand Charm Palace in recent years. They were inseparable, and in the Thousand Charm Palace, which only recruited females, they were the most difficult pair to deal with. It was rumored that they already had someone in mind. It was even publicized to the outside world that they loved the same person. This rumor had caused countless geniuses to be envious, jealous, and hateful. To be able to obtain the love of two great beauties at the same time. Who was this person? Countless people had asked the two women this question, and they had only given a single answer, unparalleled in the world, one of a kind. Today, the two beauties happened to have nothing to do. As soon as they gathered in their boudoir, the gold ranking vibrated. When they opened it, they saw that the names of the 30 geniuses were gradually dimming. It seems that something big has happened. The sacred boundary has never had 30 geniuses fall at the same time. This is no small matter. I'm afraid that this matter is not simple. The two beauties, who were originally just gasping in surprise, suddenly saw a brand new name rise up, and their hearts palpitated in shock. This day was the first wave before the grand change of the sacred boundary. 30 geniuses on the genius ranking had fallen at the same time, and only one name, whose name had not been heard before, had risen to the highest rank among the 30 geniuses on the genius ranking, 92,333. If a few or even a dozen geniuses died on the same day, there would not be such a big commotion. However, 30 geniuses had fallen at the same time. This had never happened in the history of the sacred boundary. At this moment, a terrifying earthquake was set off in the 36 regions of the sacred boundary. The hearts of the billions of experts who were paying attention to the genius ranking were in turmoil. This matter had even attracted the attention of the monstrous geniuses on the genius ranking. The sacred boundary was shaken. Chapter 854. No, I shouldn't have let the two brothers go to the Blue Moon trial. My pure cloud palace lost two geniuses in one go. Sigh, we can only nurture new youngsters. I wonder who will get the inheritance of the ancient sacred temple. The 36 domains of the sacred boundary were shaken. The sudden death of 30 geniuses would leave a mark in the history of the sacred boundary. Lin Shun, is it the mortal that great-grandfather mentioned? It's the class leader, he's here. It must be the class leader. Only he can do such an unimaginable thing. This person entered the Blue Moon secret realm from the Ice Heart Palace. Damn it, let's go to the Ice Heart Palace and ask for him. He's here. This kid actually arrived at the sacred boundary and turned it upside down the moment he arrived. Ha ha ha. After all, he's a young man who dared to challenge those crazy criminals in the sacred prison. We didn't bet on the wrong thing. Bai Juanhao and the others have been carefully nurtured by our sect. We've already given them a favor. Let's wait for him to rise. The various forces, sects, and families all had different reactions. Some were happy, some were sad, some were crazy, and some were high. This seemed to be the beginning of a great era. Everything pointed to one name. The Black Horse Club, Lin Shun. The higher-ups of the Ice Heart Palace didn't appear in their spiritual storms this time, but in their true bodies. 3 Saint Realm Elders had gathered. After a long time, the first yellow-robed elder spoke. This matter seems to have exceeded our expectations. It's very serious. In the past, there was an unwritten rule that we old fellows couldn't interfere in the matters of the younger generation. We also couldn't hold grudges against each other after entering the secret realm. But this time, it involves too many people. It's inevitable that some hot-tempered old monsters will come to kill them. Damn, he's really daring. He killed 30 geniuses in one go. Is this kid serious? Why was he fighting Ji Qingming so evenly that day? Unless he improved so much during the time he was in the Blue Moon trial. That's not possible. A person who could only fight with those at the bottom of the genius ranking for 1,000 rounds could improve so much in less than a month and kill 30 geniuses on the genius ranking. Even the old storytellers I met on the roadside didn't dare to say such things. Perhaps there is only one possibility. Just like what Elder Jian said earlier, this kid does indeed have the strength to eliminate the criminals in the holy prison. Only this explanation can explain how he could achieve such a terrifying battle record. At this point, the three of them looked at each other and decided on a plan. Within the ancient sacred palace, everything within 1,000 miles of the great wilderness was in a mess. Everything had been reduced to ashes, leaving only the smoke of destruction. The ground cracked, and the earth cracked open. Dozens of 100-jong-long craters gradually appeared in the smoke like the mouth of an abyss. A dazzling array of heavenly treasures, pill recipes, cultivation methods, and secret hand seals were all scattered on the ground due to the shattering of the high-grade storage ring. Yet no one dared to touch them. The tomb at the center was still intact. At the top of the tomb, a silver-robed figure stood with a saber in his hand. The saber light was deep blue like the moon. Golden inscriptions were engraved above his head. The golden light shone down, revealing Lin Chen's ranking on the genius rankings. He was like a new overlord overlooking all living beings on the earth. He was determined to ignore it. He stood with his saber in his hand and said indifferently, "Who else? Who else? Who dare to answer? Who dare to speak?" Of the 149 geniuses from before, only 3 survived the chaotic collision of the storm, and they were all completely crippled. As for the geniuses on the genius rankings, only 5 survived. 30 people died. This was an unprecedented battle record. Almost no one on the genius rankings of the same level had such a terrifying battle record. Even the 5 geniuses on the genius rankings who survived were extremely outstanding in terms of speed and defense. That was why they barely survived the previous explosion. Even so, the 5 of them were all missing an arm or a leg. Facing disability, there was almost no possibility of them returning to their peak. Lan Ruoxua, Mo Qingyu, Qi Miao, and the others were all stunned. The young man stood with his saber in his hand. Golden light shone all over the sky. He was like a god who had descended to the mortal world. No one could defeat him. There is such a strange man in the world. Qi Miao's beautiful eyes flickered. Her heart palpitated again and again. The remaining geniuses who did not participate in the encirclement of Lin Chun and the other 4 geniuses on the genius rankings felt like they were in a dream. Their faces were filled with shock and disbelief. So many people had entered the ancient sage hall, and now they were the only ones left? Wasn't this because of the ancient sage hall? It was because they had offended Lin Chun. Could it be that this guy was even more terrifying than the ancient sage hall? Too monstrous. These guys are all crazy. Life and death are indifferent in this battle of the Dark Horse. This is not a joke. Are we really the only ones left? While they were stunned and shocked, they were even more scared and relieved. When the 2 sides were fighting, they regretted not joining the main group. Now that they looked at it, there was no point in joining. Damn it, because of their hesitation, they still managed to keep their lives. The Black Horse Club's attack was earth-shattering. Even if they joined, the outcome would not have changed. Lin Chun put away the azure moon, but in his heart he couldn't help but feel a sense of pride, as if he was looking down on all living beings. Finally, Lin Chun, had the trump card and the confidence to compete with all the geniuses. The flickering shadows. Innate skill was Lin Chen's true and permanent orange grade innate skill. This would give him the confidence to compete with all the monstrous geniuses. Chapter 855. Looking at the scattered attribute light balls and attribute treasure chests, it was dazzling and dazzling. In particular, there were 5 orange crystal treasure chests. When Lin Chun saw this, his heart bloomed with joy. He revealed a harmless and innocent smile. There were no substandard items in these orange crystal treasure chests. Every orange crystal treasure chest had a decent item. Lin Chun waved his hand and activated the Dragon Emperor. The Dragon Emperor swept across the vast wilderness and collected a large number of attribute light balls, as well as the scattered exotic treasures and silver Saint Origin coins, and put them all into the peach blossom plant pouch. Host has received 180 strengthening points, 190,000 spiritual power, 150 strengthening points, 210 strengthening points, 300,000 talent points, 500,000 rune energy, 440,000 heaven path points, 100 million battle chi essence, 150,000 cultivation soul essences. The host has received 50,000 points of fire energy, 40,000 points of water energy, 40,000 points of wind energy, 20,000 points of lightning energy. A large number of attribute light balls were collected, and although each prodigy didn't drop many attribute light balls, the quality was extremely high, and there were too many prodigies that died, so the total number was terrifying. Open 78 purple crystal treasure chests obtained. 50 rune evolution stones, 35 million talent points, 150,000 strengthening points, 8 million rune energy, 10 million heaven path points. Open 5 orange crystal treasure chests to obtain 400,000 blank attribute points, 10 gold Saint Origin coins, 1 sacred artifact scroll, rank 8 exotic, or 3,000 meteorite stone, 1,000 mountains, odd crystal fragment. Lin Shun took a deep breath. A sacred artifact forging scroll? There were even rank 8 exotic ores. This was one of the materials for forging sacred artifacts. Following that, Lin Shun saw that most of the life-saving trump cards of those prodigies were destroyed, and even the silver Saint Origin coins couldn't repair them. Lin Shun felt very regretful. If he could obtain the complete foundation of 35 prodigies, then Lin Shen's wealth would be terrifying. Those prodigies who were snatching all kinds of cultivation resources and exotic treasures were all given to Lin Shun, and they all belonged to Lin Shun. To Lin Shen's surprise, after absorbing so many elemental light balls, his elemental attribute values and other attributes all soared. Lin Shun, are they all right? Qin Miao flew over and said worriedly to his doppelgangers. Don't worry, I'll be fine after a period of recuperation. It's just the after effects of the battle technique. In order to avoid arousing suspicion, Lin Shun did not immediately activate the Phantom Rune. In fact, only Lung Yueqi and Su Lan knew the true identity of the doppelganger. The others thought that Lin Shen's right-hand men were about to die. Even if they didn't die, it would be difficult for them to return to their peak in the future. What made those geniuses who didn't make a move admire their courage? She didn't hesitate to sacrifice her life for Lin Shun. She didn't hesitate at all. What kind of friendship and feelings did she have to go to such an extent? It wasn't hard to imagine that the members of the Black Horse Club were all friends who had gone through life and death. The surviving Shui Tianso couldn't help but sigh. Perhaps everything that the Black Horse Club and the others had was given to them by Lin Shun. They had absolute trust in Lin Shun. Until now, Shui Tianso still couldn't forget that moment in the underground world. Lin Shun only needed to snap his fingers, and the combat power of everyone in the Black Horse Club had increased by leaps and bounds. Lin Shun only needed to kill Ji Wuqian, and everyone had learned the vanishing shadow flying dagger technique in a short period of time. This was a technique that even sages couldn't achieve, but had been easily achieved by him time and time again. How old was he? How strong was he? What was a legend? What was heaven-defying? In this situation, the young man in front of him was both a legend and a heaven-defying person. Shui Tianso might have witnessed the rise of a true legend in the sacred boundary. By the way, I have something to give you. Lin Shun flicked his finger and gave the two sisters 2 storage rings. Inside were the cultivation techniques, herbs, and pills that were most suitable for the 2 girls' physiques. They were all collected by Lin Shun after he plundered the fallen geniuses. These 2 girls weren't bad by nature and could be considered friends. They were able to stand up for him and even stand on his side when surrounded by the geniuses on the genius ranking. This wasn't something that could be achieved with just courage. He is truly a peerless genius, a celestial being that can shock the ages. Mo Qing was both shocked and regretful. He had missed the last chance to befriend Lin Shun. Even if he had stood up for Lin Shun at that time, their relationship would be different now. Lan Ruoxue had mixed feelings, and she had the same thoughts as Mo Qing. After a series of rejections, Qin Miao still accepted Lin Chen's gift. Seeing his sister holding the storage ring as if she had received a lover's gift, Qin Jian couldn't help but facepalm. His sister really had everything written on her face. It's time to go to the next stage. Lin Shun took the lead and rushed to the end of the vast wasteland. An ancient stone wall gradually appeared, and in the middle was a stone door that was 100 feet tall. After Lin Shun took the lead and entered, the others didn't want to fall behind. Thinking that the ancient saint's inheritance token was so important, everyone gritted their teeth and followed. At the end of the ancient door, there was actually a dark and gloomy room. The surroundings were pitch black, and even everyone's cultivation was instantly sealed by some kind of aura. Many geniuses were shocked and panicked. At this moment, they were like ordinary mortals. They couldn't even fly in the air, and their spiritual senses couldn't detect anything more than 100 meters away. Only Lin Shen was calm and composed. Although his cultivation was sealed, he was still prepared to use the super-dimensional teleportation and the slow rune at any time. After walking for a while, everyone calmed down a little. In the dark room, the only thing they could see was the crystal lines on the ground. Every square was pregnant with a treasure light. Some emitted a blurry and dazzling rainbow light, while others were gray. Sometimes they emitted a bright red light, and sometimes the light was restrained. It was unknown whether it was ominous or auspicious. The white-robed woman's voice sounded faintly. Challengers, this is the last stage of the test. This is called walking through the square in the sky. One step is heaven, and the other is hell. And those who reach the end will be able to obtain the ancient saint's inheritance. Every square will be under great spiritual pressure. I hope that everyone will know their limits and do what they can. If you can't hold on, you can choose to withdraw and teleport to the next square to leave. Boom! As soon as she finished speaking, the room lit up, revealing the many squares in each row. It would take about 20 squares to reach the end. Upon hearing the woman's words, the surviving geniuses were overjoyed. As long as they could pass, they would be able to obtain the ancient saint's inheritance and retreat unscathed. Some geniuses couldn't wait to try to step into the first square. With a boom, ancient spiritual pressure swept over them, causing them to hold their breaths and focus. A moment later, whoosh, light rushed up, and a top-grade 7-stage supreme-grade weapon and a top-grade purple-stage supreme-grade cultivation technique appeared above the heads of 2 geniuses. As long as we can withstand the spiritual pressure in these squares, we will be able to obtain treasures. Great! This way, we can obtain treasures without having to fight. All the geniuses were wild with joy. If they were to talk based on strength now, they were afraid that no one would be a match for Lin Shen and the others. This method was the most advantageous for them. Lin Shen's brows suddenly furrowed. Chapter 856. Shui Tianso and the last few geniuses on the prodigy roll also tried to enter the square. When everyone had entered, only Lin Shen's group did not move. Purple light swirled in Lin Shen's eyes. He raised his hand and spoke in a serious tone. Don't move. There's something strange. Is there such a thing as a free lunch in the sky? Lin Shen did not believe it. His eye of 9 tribulations and purple gold eyes had sensed the abnormality. There was a trace of death and calamity lingering around the square. Time passed, and almost half a day had passed. The prodigies who had entered first had a bountiful harvest. There were gold Saint Origin coins, large amounts of silver Saint Origin coins, top-grade cultivation techniques, some ancient pill recipes, high-grade purple-grade alchemy handprints, and everything else. There were even 8th-grade rare ores used to forge sage artifacts. Mo Qing's heart itched like a cat was scratching it. He had already calculated that there were no abnormalities in these squares. Sir Lin Shun, shall we enter? Lan Ruoxue tried asking. Just as she finished speaking, there was a sudden, sizzling sound in the room. A prodigy had finally endured the spiritual pressure of the 4th square. A black light shone from the top of his head. What welcomed him was not a rare treasure, but a black fog that seemed to be the judgment of fate. It condensed into a black fog and instantly enveloped him. Sizzle. The black fog trembled, and that prodigy seemed to have been erased from the world. He turned into ashes. Not even a speck of dust was left. What is this? Lan Roashiwe's pupils trembled. Her eyes clearly sensed that the rising black mist contained an absolute aura of destruction. Unless a saint made a move, otherwise there was absolutely no chance of survival. The instant death of this heavenly talent aroused everyone's horror and fear. As soon as they relaxed their minds, they were pushed away from the square by the terrifying spiritual pressure. What happened just now? I don't know. That guy from the Jade Sword sect disappeared in an instant. He was not weak. Everyone broke out in cold sweat. The prodigies on the prodigy roll did not dare to continue entering the square. As expected, at this moment, Lin Chun exhaled, and everyone looked at him. That white-robed lady said before that one step into heaven and one step into hell. Since our cultivation is sealed, the only way we can get there is by relying on our willpower or luck. This is the final test of karmic luck. Those with bad karmic luck will die no matter how strong their talent is. Lin Chen's words enlightened everyone, as if they had just woken up from a dream. Indeed, there was no free lunch in this world. The geniuses who came back to their senses couldn't help but break out in a cold sweat. They felt as if they had just walked on the edge of death, and it was their luck that they hadn't died. Let's just retreat. That's right. This is a gamble of life and death. I've already walked through 3 squares and obtained enough treasures. Why should I gamble again? I've already walked the path 4 times. If I wanted to die, I would have died a long time ago. I don't believe that I'll lose to those fellows on the genius ranking. Some chose to leave, while others chose to move forward. The geniuses who had taken the spatial cube to leave quickly retreated. To Lin Chen's surprise, the spatial cube really could teleport them away. Looks like the ancient sage is indeed looking for a successor. He left a way out for all the intruders. The first trial tested one's wisdom. It verified whether one would discover the secret path of fire refinement. The second trial tested one's willpower. It tested one's mental fortitude. The third trial tested one's strength. It allowed the intruder to face an unprecedented living being. The final trial tested one's luck and opportunity. No wonder the inheritance of the ancient Sage Hall had been placed aside for so many years. It was extremely difficult to pass these trials one after another. However, these were all Lin Chen's guesses. No one knew what this former sage was thinking. Just as this thought flashed through his mind, 2 more rays of black light surged. 2 geniuses stepped on the heavenly square grid with calamity luck and were instantly killed. This, Qin Juyan's pupils trembled. How was he supposed to choose? Did he have to rely on luck to reach the end? Lung Yueqi didn't say anything and looked at Lin Chun. Lin Chun chuckled. I've always been a greedy person. If there's something good, I'll never let it go. However, I've never relied on luck. Let me try first. If it doesn't work, I'll leave immediately. Although the ancient sage's inheritance was tempting, a true expert would never leave their fate in the hands of Providence. It could be expected, but it could never be relied on. Relying on one's own providence was akin to courting death. Whoosh, whoosh. Lin Chen's 2 doppelgangers landed in the heavenly square grid. The spiritual pressure was greatly reduced, and the doppelgangers easily resisted it. When did the Black Horse Club recover? They recovered so quickly after using such an ultimate technique. Shui Tianso, who was standing at the side, was shocked. The 5 people beside Lin Chun had all recovered. They didn't notice it at all. Golden lights surged, and Lin Chen's doppelgangers passed through the first square grid. A pill fell from the top of their heads. They reached out and grabbed it. They had obtained the rare peak, level 7 golden flame pill. Boom! The other doppelganger also had a fortuitous encounter and obtained a top-tier level 7 golden flame halberd. Lin Chun still didn't enter the battle personally. He urged the 2 doppelgangers to continue moving forward. As they moved forward one after another, fortuitous encounters continued. Finally, when they reached the 4th grid, a black fog suddenly appeared on top of one of the doppelganger's heads and enveloped the doppelganger in a flash. Everyone was horrified. It was that calamity again. Would the people of the Black Horse Club also be unable to escape death? Whoosh! The space above their heads flashed, and the doppelgangers disappeared. The black fog actually stayed on the spot for a while before slowly disappearing. The room reverberated with low gasps of surprise. Superdimensional teleportation successfully activated. 7,300,000 talent points consumed. No problem. Lin Chen's eyes lit up, and the corners of his lips curled up slightly. He was back to his usual playful and arrogant self. What happened? Is he dead? I don't think so. But the situation just now seemed to have teleported. But we can't use our cultivation here. Many prodigies were bewildered. Lin Chen then smiled at the people around him. You can set off now. Set off with the people around me. Each of you will follow one of them. Remember, don't panic if anything happens. Lin Chen smiled at the girls around him. Lung Yueqi and Su Lan maintained absolute trust in them. Without saying anything, they walked to the square in front of them and began to accept the baptism of the spiritual pressure. Beside them was Lin Chen's doppelgangers, who also walked into the square in the sky. Then, when the doppelgangers that had disappeared earlier appeared again, everyone was stunned. The Black Horse Club's people are back. You guys go in too. If you encounter any fatal danger, my people will protect you. Lin Chen raised his eyebrows and glanced at Lan Ruoxue and Mo Qing. The two of them were pleasantly surprised and immediately cupped their fists and thanked him. Lin Chen walked into the square in the sky, and the Qin sisters followed closely behind. This scene caused many geniuses to be stunned and puzzled. Could it be that the people from the Black Horse Club were not afraid of death? Or could it be that they had the ability to deal with that sure-kill grid of calamity? That's right. Lin Chen's plan was to use his superdimensional teleportation to ingeniously avoid the death grid of calamity, even if the people around him encountered it. As long as he ordered his doppelgangers to immediately activate the superdimensional teleportation, he would be able to teleport them out of the ancient Sage Hall. The people who were teleported out would not be able to enter again. However, Lin Chen's phantom rune could be used again, and his doppelgangers could be summoned to his side again. This was simply an unreasonable behavior. Lin Chen's talent function was completely taking advantage of this gap in the assessment. Gamble on luck? Gamble my ass. Chapter 857. Yes, this spiritual pressure is very strong. Only those with early-stage Heavenly Ascension Realm spiritual power can pass the first grid. Lin Chen walked leisurely. His peak Heavenly Ascension Realm spiritual power was not afraid of this spiritual pressure at all. Flowers bloomed with every step he took, and golden lotuses sprouted from the ground. Multicolored light lingered above his head, and a large number of rare treasures bloomed above his head. He took all of them and put them into his peach blossom pouch. In one breath, he walked 8 heavenly square grids. Of these 8 heavenly square grids, 3 had fortuitous encounters, while the other 5 were empty. However, at least he did not encounter any calamity grids. He walked casually, as if he was going on a vacation. However, this caused all the geniuses to enter a state of confusion and doubt. Lin Chen might not be able to obtain the ancient sage's inheritance, but he would definitely be the one who profited the most. He had the Dragon Emperor on standby. Even if he was teleported to the outside world, he could teleport back at any time using the Dragon Emperor's spatial coordinates. As long as he had enough talent points, he would have no problem jumping between the outside and inside of the ancient sage temple. Qi Miao followed closely behind Lin Chen. Her spiritual power was even stronger than Lin Chen's, and she had reached the peak of the Heavenly Ascension Realm. She could be considered the one who had the easiest time resisting the spiritual pressure. Lin Chen walked to the 10th heavenly square grids. The spiritual pressure increased sharply, and he reached the peak of the middle stage of the Heavenly Ascension Realm. Lin Chen still passed it easily, and a blue light appeared above his head. The blue light was enshrouded in a dazzling radiance, like a glowing fog. It was beautiful and gorgeous. Lin Chun grabbed it in his hand, and it turned into a half-meter-long blue crystal. This is an 8th grade sacred material, serene blue holy crystal. Lin Chun was pleasantly surprised. 8th grade rare ores were extremely valuable, and they were used to make sacred weapons. The 3,000 meteorite stones he had obtained earlier were obtained by luck from the orange crystal treasure chest. Lin Chen's fortuitous encounter attracted the attention of the other geniuses. The geniuses who had planned to leave earlier walked to the heavenly square grids again. However, before they could take 2 steps, they encountered the calamity grids and were instantly wiped out from the world, leaving not even dregs behind. Once again, another person fell. Only then did everyone realize that this was a game of chance and life. Finally, most of the heavenly talent sighed and jumped into the square space, leaving one after another. The more, the better. Just as Lin Shan was about to move forward, he realized that everyone's mental strength wasn't very strong. He took out a few jade bottles from his storage ring and threw them at Su Lan, Lung Yueqi, and Su Lan. The 3 women took it, and their faces lit up with joy. Myriad green jasper dew. Use this if you can't hold on any longer. Lin Shan chuckled and continued to move forward. Beside him, Qi Miao passed another grid. Golden lotuses sprouted from the ground, and with a flash of silver light, she had another fortuitous encounter. Her clone, who was following beside her, was quite lucky as well. She obtained another scroll that was sealed with strong spiritual power. This is the Myriad Green Sky Hand, a top-tier purple-tier alchemy seal. Seeing the great fortuitous encounter of his clone, Lin Chun sighed in amazement. Alchemy seals were still extremely rare in the sacred boundary. Middle-tier and high-tier purple-tier alchemy seals were the best of the best. Top-tier purple-tier alchemy seals were worth gold Saint Origin coins. Top-tier purple-tier alchemy seals could only be found by chance. After moving forward another 5 grids, Lin Chen's luck seemed to be extremely good. He didn't encounter any calamity grids yet. Along the way, he obtained a Saint Artifact Forging Manual and 10 gold Saint Origin coins. Lin Chun moved forward all the way to the 18th grid. Fireworks bloomed above his head, and a thick ancient book was slowly passed down. All the contents of the ancient book were engraved with spiritual power. Every page contained a huge amount of information. Cloud Sky Pill Sage's Alchemy Handbook. Oh my god, this was actually a lifetime alchemy handbook of the Pill Sage. Its value was even more exaggerated than the Myriad Green Sky Hand. A saint-level alchemist was an existence that countless alchemists dreamed of receiving guidance from. The essence of his lifetime of learning was too precious. The pressure of the 18th grid is already my limit. I can't withstand the spiritual pressure of the 19th grid. Lin Chen looked behind him. At this time, Qin Juyan had already reached her limit. She had returned to her original position at the 12th grid. Mo Qingyu and Lan Ruoxue had encountered calamity grids on the 8th and 6th grids respectively and were teleported to the outside world by his clone. Lung Yueqi stopped at the 11th grid and was refining the myriad green jasper dew. The Su sisters stopped at the 6th grid, and Qi Miao stopped at the 17th grid. At this time, only Lin Chun and the others were left in the room. Almost everyone had either left or been wiped out by the calamity grids. Fortunately, everyone's luck is relatively good. The harvest this time should be very good. My clone is also fine. It used 7 million talent points to return. I still need 2 more grids. Lin Chun sat down cross-legged, took out 3 bottles of myriad green jasper dew, and began to refine them. His spirit seemed to have been enlightened, and like a river or a sea, it surged into his spiritual sea and turned into attribute points that were constantly being absorbed. A beautiful figure in white appeared in the air, sighing in amazement. What a miraculous little fellow. Not only does his luck cover the sky, he can even avoid the judgment and obliteration of my heaven walk square. There has never been such an intruder in the past. However, Master has instructed that the more unexpected the intruder is, the more attention and care should be given. Time passed, and surprisingly, no one was eliminated this time. The Su sisters and Lung Yuechi each received a spiritual breakthrough and advanced 2 more grids before returning to their original positions. They each had their own fortuitous encounters and were waiting for Lin Chen's situation. As for Qi Miao, she was expelled by the spiritual pressure when she reached the 19th grid. It was very difficult for a Heaven Ascension Realm cultivator to pass the last 2 grids. The girls were waiting for Lin Chen in their original positions. After refining 15 bottles of myriad green jasper dew, Lin Chen suddenly opened his eyes, and a terrifying spiritual storm swept past him like a hurricane. His mid-level spiritual power attribute points had increased by 59. 7 million points in one go. In addition to his previous accumulation and the many attribute points he had obtained from entering the ancient sage temple, the total had just exceeded 100 million points. 100 million points of mid-level spiritual power was just enough to step into the Heaven Ascension Realm. Heaven Ascension Realm Early Stage and Heaven Ascension Realm Full-Fledged Spiritual Power were 2 completely different levels. It was like the difference between a chick and an eagle. Lin Chen's spiritual power was many times more powerful than before. It's still not enough. I can't pass the last 2 grids like this. System, I want to strengthen the Genesis Holy Scripture. Lin Chen used up 84,549 enhancement points to upgrade the plus 11 Genesis Holy Scripture to plus 13. Overall power increase, 240%. Boom. Lin Chen's mental power shone like 10,000 stars. Taking a step forward, he charged towards the 19th square grid. An even stronger spiritual pressure suddenly descended, as if countless heavy metal balls were falling. It was this vast spiritual pressure that had pushed Qi Miao back just now. The plus 13 Genesis Holy Scripture was like countless pushing hands, pushing away the heavy spiritual metal balls. It was as if 4 tails were pushing 1,000 kilograms away. Go up, Lin Chen snorted coldly. His mental power surged once again as he charged towards the 20th celestial square grid. Outside the ancient sage temple, a murderous aura filled the air, and the smell of blood filled the air. The prodigies who had been transported out of the ancient sage temple had all died in a sea of blood. No one survived. This time, the ancient sage temple's inheritance was almost completely wiped out. Yuechi's man? Lin Chen? Damn it, what did you say? In the sea of blood, the pale-faced young pavilion master was almost crazy as he strangled a crippled genius on the prodigy ranking. In his rage, he accidentally used too much strength. The other party rolled his eyes and directly strangled this genius to death. Lung Yuechi has a man? Impossible. She only belongs to me, the young pavilion master. The young pavilion master threw the dead person into the sea of blood and stared at the ancient sage temple on the surface of the sea, his expression extremely sinister. Ranked 92333 on the prodigy ranking. Lin Chen? I'm ranked 84680. He's not even fit to carry my shoes. How dare he touch the woman I like? Die. This person must die. Today, I've set up the 7 kills formation. Even Dongfang Wuji, ranked 80,000 on the prodigy ranking, has to die. Not to mention trash outside of 90,000. Chapter 858. The heavenly demon mountain of the sacred boundary was the border between the human race and the dragon race in the sacred boundary. Amidst the undulating mountain range, there was a stone residence. Bang! A deafening sound shook the clouds, the earth shook, and the space distorted. Who are you? The young man stood on the peak of the mountain, holding his sword. His eyes narrowed as he stared at the black-robed man, not far away. As expected, the prophecy of the race was not wrong. The human race really has a world-shaking genius. You only have two choices. One, join the demon race, and two, die here. The black-robed man's voice was hoarse, and it was impossible to tell if he was a man or a woman. Clang! The young man unsheathed his sword and pointed it at the black-robed man. There is still a third option. You will die under the sword of Lin Xingchen. The black-robed man sighed softly. Then you can die. Two auras that cause the sun and moon to lose their colors and heaven and earth to sink into oblivion rose to the peak from the heavenly demon mountain. It's been thousands of years. Someone has finally passed. Furthermore, it's someone from the 9 states. An ancient voice echoed. When Lin Shun used all his strength to rush through the 20th square, ripples appeared in the space, and an illusory figure appeared in the air. An illusory spatial barrier separated them. From the other side of the room, one could see that Lin Shun seemed to have disappeared. Where's the class monitor? Sulan was anxious. Lung Yueqi patted her. It's fine. I can still sense his presence. You should have passed the test. The ancient sages was talking to him. Qin Jian had a look of envy. The ancient sages' inheritance. This was the dream of many sages. It was said that his fall was related to the Great War of the Sages in the ancient civilization. Those who had experienced that war avoided mentioning it, but they coveted the matter of the ancient sages. Oh, you're the ancient sage? Lin Chen was curious. For some reason, he felt an inexplicable sense of familiarity with this illusory old man in front of him, as if it was related to something in his body. Even though he felt an inexplicable sense of familiarity, Lin Shun was still prepared to use superdimensional teleportation at any time. Facing a former saint, he would never let his guard down. Ha, young man, ancient saint was just my title at the end of my journey. In an even longer time, some people called me the firmament ancient god. Moreover, I can sense the power I left behind in the mortal world from your body. You and I are connected by fate. The old man stroked his beard and smiled. Lin Chen's mind was suddenly filled with information. 9 continents, firmament tower, orange-level trial secret realm, ancient god's cave, ancient sages, ancient god. Are you the master of the ancient god's immortals cave in the 9 regions, firmament tower? Lin Chen's expression was filled with shock. Could it be that he was not a saint, but a god? You could say that. The firmament tower is the demon's cave I left in the 9 regions to suppress. There is a guy in there with a strong vitality. At that time, I was about to die and was seriously injured, so it was difficult for me to destroy it and its nest. I could only suppress it temporarily. After that, I used most of my strength to suppress my injuries. After that, I sneaked into the sacred boundary for millions of years and was discovered by some saints. Later, due to some variables, a war between the saints broke out. The old man smiled lightly, as if the past that alarmed the sacred boundary was just a passing cloud. Lin Shun came to a sudden realization. No wonder the 9 continents, as a mortal world, could produce so many talented saints. It turned out that a true god had once descended upon the 9 continents. I wonder what price I have to pay to obtain your inheritance. Or do I have to complete something? Let me say this first. I am a timid person. If you want me to do something like saving the world, then forget it. Lin Shun pursed his lips and asked. The old man was startled and then laughed. Little guy, you are very cunning. You are quite to my liking. That's right, there is no free lunch in this world. If you want to obtain my inheritance, you do have to help me complete something. Do you know why the saints of the sacred boundary are eyeing my things covetously? It is because I have created a manufacturing method that can artificially cultivate odd crystals. Before talking about the matter, the old man first threw out a heavyweight news. The corner of Lin Chen's mouth trembled a few times. Artificially cultivate odd crystals? Lin Chen already had a preliminary understanding of the value of odd crystals. A complete odd crystal, even if it was a low-grade one, was extremely expensive. Ordinary saints might not even have one and would only have odd crystal fragments. The formation of odd crystals originated from the accumulation and condensation of many space-time planes with special energy between heaven and earth. The conditions for formation were extremely difficult. Some odd crystals in the early stages of formation had energy the size of a comet or even larger. Low-grade odd crystals were already ridiculously precious, let alone the existence of high-grade, middle-grade, top-grade, and even top-grade odd crystals. However, my cultivation method can only create low-grade and middle-grade odd crystals. High-grade odd crystals require completely different energy and are difficult to artificially create. Otherwise, if even high-grade odd crystals can be artificially created, then even the gods of the sacred boundary might take action. If I want to break through this boundary, I will have to recover my peak strength. This is another matter. Young man, if you want to obtain my inheritance, you have to help me kill someone. At the end, the old man's tone was somewhat cold. Lin Chen frowned. Senior, this person is called Een Son of Heaven and was once nominated for the Sacred Boundaries monster list. He is the only disciple I took in after my main body arrived at the Sacred Boundary. I nurtured him so that he could one day recover my strength. Unfortunately, he was ambitious and discovered my secret of cultivating odd crystals. He actually joined forces with many saints to besiege me. The old man shook his head and said with a complicated tone, "How is it, kid? This old man only has one request. Now that he is about to die and has seen through many things, it is impossible for him to be resurrected. Unless a true God intervenes, he can only wait here for the last wisp of spiritual remnant to dissipate. I've already sensed your performance along the way. I'm rarely wrong when it comes to judging people. You'll at least be able to make it to the genius ranking in the future. With my assistance, you'll have great potential to make it to the Saint Genius ranking. It won't be too much for you to leave your name in the history of the Saints' world." The old man withdrew his gloomy expression and said with a sage-like smile, "The monster list was a place Lin Chun had to reach. Without this aptitude, he wouldn't be qualified to go to the Divine Flame Palace to bring back Sister Ruan. I don't seem to have a reason to refuse. If it's just this condition, then I can only reserve Een Son of Heaven's Head in advance." Lin Shin was filled with pride as both sides hit it off. The method to cultivate odd crystals artificially was too valuable. It had a great impact on Lin Shin's future and was second only to his system and mental cultivation method. "Kid, go straight to the end. There is something this old man left for you. Let me say this first. You can't go back on your words. Een Son of Heaven might have become a giant on the saint list after receiving my teachings. You have to hurry up and cultivate." The old man waved his hand, and the brightly lit passage opened up. Lin Chen's mouth twitched as he didn't know whether to laugh or cry. "Damn it, why do I feel like I've boarded a pirate ship?" Lin Chen walked into the passage and was suddenly startled. His expression became even more shocked and astonished. In the passage, he saw an attribute radiance that was unique to him. It was Lin Chen's first time seeing this radiance. Chapter 859. Extremely dazzling golden light floated at the end of the passageway in front of him, causing Lin Chen's pressure to multiply. It actually had a kind of invincible aura that could suppress the whole universe. Oh my God, what kind of treasure is inside? This is the first time I've felt such terrifying pressure when facing elemental light. Lin Chun clutched his chest, palpitating slightly. He actually had some difficulty breathing. 7 transformations, ultimate moment. Boom! Lin Chun released all his strength, and that domineering aura finally slowed down. Why is this little guy using a secret technique to increase his strength? Is he worried that I'll harm him? But his attention isn't on me. That's strange. The illusory old man behind Lin Chen couldn't help but be stunned. Lin Chen walked into the passageway uneasily. At the end of the passageway was a jade-green skeleton. The skeleton had passed away here, and there were countless scars between the bones. It was a ghastly sight, and the light was dim. This might have been the skeleton of a deity in the past. It was a pity that it had been severely injured countless times. The ancient god of the firmament had become an ancient saint and then finally died here. This skeleton no longer had any divine might. However, what attracted Lin Chen's attention was a treasure chest on top of the skeleton. This treasure chest glowed with a faint golden light. It was simple and unadorned. It didn't have the dazzling glow of an orange crystal treasure chest, nor did it have the noble aura of a five-light supreme treasure chest. It only had an extremely domineering aura, as if an ancient deity was lying in wait here. Lin Chen stepped forward. With trembling hands, he opened up the unique attribute treasure chest. A glittering golden wrist guard appeared. The moment the treasure chest was opened, the golden light disappeared and entered the bracer. It was as if the galaxy was restrained and contained the universe. Lin Chen sized it up. The bracer was engraved with mysterious patterns that resembled dancing golden dragons. The orange-gold color was red, and the fingers were engraved with golden patterns. Looking at it from the front, it looked like a golden fist with a front bracer. What is this? It doesn't have the spirituality of a war artifact or a prized artifact. The material is also very mysterious. It doesn't seem like a saint artifact. Could it be a divine artifact? Lin Chen examined the golden bracer in his hand, and even the illusory ancient sage stroked his beard with a confused expression. Is this what you took out from your storage ring? It doesn't look like a weapon. It doesn't have the spirituality of a divine weapon, nor does it contain the might of a divine weapon. Even this old man can't see through the material used to forge it. Strange. From the perspective of the ancient sages, Lin Chen opened the treasure chest and took out the item as if he had taken it out from his storage ring. This was because he did not directly place it into the system. Even the ancient sage, who was once a deity, said that it was not a weapon or a treasure. Could it be something else? Lin Chen asked the system, but what was even more surprising was that even the system didn't know. How could a treasure chest with attributes that even the system didn't know about drop? What the hell is this thing? Curious, Lin Chen put the golden bracer on his right hand. The moment Lin Chen put on the golden bracer, he didn't feel anything out of the ordinary. Bam! Boom! 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 Thousands of rays of golden light shone from the golden bracer. The light actually penetrated all the obstructions in the ancient sage temple, and even the outside world could be seen clearly. An almost invincible aura erupted from Lin Chen's body. It was as if the hegemon god had descended upon the world. The entire ancient sage hall began to tremble, and the spatial crystal walls began to crack, distort, and even shatter. Only the power of a saint could tear apart the space of the sacred boundaries, space-time plane. This is... Lin Chen was shocked. His arm was currently glowing, and the golden light was like a rainbow. It was as if billions of giant dragons were gathered in his palm. In that instant, he actually felt as if he could pick the stars and grab the moon. It was as if he could crush countless meteors with just a finger. If he punched out now, he might even surpass himself when he used the enhanced version of the God Slayer talent. There's something strange about this item. The ancient saint narrowed his eyes. Looking at this golden bracer, it was plain and ordinary. Only when Lin Chen put it on, it was as if some kind of supreme power had been awakened, dominating all directions and dominating all worlds. The moment he put on the bracer, a screen popped up in front of him. Obtain Golden Battle God set part. Ultimate Bracer, Battle God Bracer, Absolute Strength, Ultimate Attack, Ultimate Destruction. Only applicable to the host. Just as Lin Chen saw the contents of the system screen clearly, he spat out a mouthful of blood, a large amount of blood. No, to be precise, he was bleeding from all orifices. Blood kept flowing out of Lin Chen's eyes, mouth, nose, and ears. The bracer is draining the host's life force. The host is collapsing. Please remove the bracer immediately. The moment the system issued the warning, Lin Chen exerted all his strength to remove the bracer from his arm. Then, the light dimmed, and countless golden lights were absorbed back into the bracer. The invincible aura that dominated the world disappeared in an instant. Lin Shun knelt on one knee on the ground, panting like a cow. His mouth and nose were filled with fresh blood that flowed down continuously. It was a ghastly sight. Damn it, what the hell is this thing? I only wore it for 4 seconds, and I almost lost my life. Without saying anything, Lin Shin took out an extreme Yang life reversion pill from his storage ring and swallowed it. After that, he used the wood spirit essence technique to heal his injuries. Only then did he temporarily stabilize his condition. When he looked at the bracer again, it regained its previous calmness. Upon closer inspection, he didn't even see any energy fluctuations coming from the weapon. How amazing! Young man, you have many secrets. This item is beyond my knowledge. It belongs to you, and only you can unleash its power. Even someone as powerful as the ancient sages exclaimed in shock and amazement, a rare sight to behold. Senior, is this a divine weapon? Lin Shin made a bold guess while healing his injuries. No, it's not a divine weapon. If it were a divine weapon, with your Battle Emperor cultivation, a single strand of energy from the divine weapon would be enough to reduce you to ashes. This is the first time I've seen such a miraculous item. However, I don't think it's inferior to a divine weapon. If you had continued to wear it, the power it could unleash might have reached the level of a divine weapon. The ancient sage said seriously. Lin Shin couldn't help but smile bitterly. If he had worn this thing and unleashed a punch, he couldn't imagine how monstrous its power would be. However, he himself would probably have died on the spot. Without sufficient strength and cultivation, this bracer couldn't be worn at all. At the very least, using it at the Battle Emperor level was equivalent to courting death. During the battle with the fake god, Lin Shun had experienced the power of a Sage Realm cultivator. However, when he wore this bracer, his pure strength soared to a terrifying level. This level of strength far exceeded his when he was using the enhanced God Slayer. No matter what, this bracer is definitely a heaven-defying treasure. Furthermore, it was dropped from an attribute treasure chest. Only I can use it. After coming back to his senses and thinking about it carefully, Lin Shun was extremely excited. Although the ancient sage's cultivation had dropped due to his injuries, he was still a legendary true god. The attribute treasure chest of this bracer was dropped from a true god after his death. This was truly something that could only be discovered by chance. Damn, if this was any other time, where would he find a place where a true god had fallen? Chapter 860. Most of the sages had never heard of a god dying at such a ridiculous timing, let alone finding the place where a god had died. This war god bracer might be Lin Shin's strongest and best trump card to date. If it was in the past, creatures that were too much stronger than me or too weak wouldn't drop any attribute points. Could it be because of the system update? Lin Shin couldn't think clearly and simply stopped thinking about it. The 36 regions of the sacred boundary were filled with experts, sages, holy kings, and even gods. He was alone and didn't have enough strength. Perhaps this war god bracer would be of great use when he encountered a strong enemy in the future. Lin Shin sat cross-legged opposite the ancient sage skeleton and recuperated. The ancient sage wasn't in a hurry and waited for him with his hands behind his back. 2 hours later, Lin Shun, who had swallowed 2 top-grade 7th-order elixirs, had recovered 80% of his strength. After Lin Shun recovered, he walked to the skeleton, took the storage ring, and easily engraved a spiritual imprint. The storage ring contained the ancient sage's inheritance, and there were only 4 items: a piece of red silk, 10 thick ancient books, a jade box with sealing power, and a green jade scroll. After several twists and turns, the ancient sage left the sky tower in 9 states and established a new space plane. There weren't many resources left for Lin Shun in the tower. The green jade scroll was engraved with the Ling Yun 8 Heavens forging record, which was a complete set of rank 8 forging techniques. The 10 ancient books contain the method of cultivating odd crystals and some unfinished conjectures and ideas. The sealed jade box was actually a complete, white, blazing, low-grade, odd crystal. And it was the most valuable one, a light attribute odd crystal. The red silk was the same as the 2 pieces that Lin Chen obtained before. There's actually a piece of red silk here. The red silk was as red as blood and was the same as the red silk that Lin Chen obtained from the dean and the fake god. Senior, what is this? Lin Chen asked, feigning ignorance. I can't see through this item either. The reason why my divine body was so heavily injured is definitely related to this item. Back then, a new plane was born at the edge of the sacred boundary, and an unprecedented war broke out in the sacred boundary. I managed to snatch this scarlet silk by chance, but I was immediately besieged by several ancient forces. The ancient sage revealed a look of reminiscence, then shook his head. It was too long ago. My spiritual remnant can no longer remember it. I can only vaguely remember it. Later on, I know very little about the secrets of this item, so I haven't been able to decipher much. An opponent who could seriously injure an ancient god must also be a true god. A battle between a bunch of true gods. Damn it, this is too crazy. I don't even dare to think about it. This thing even involves the immortal state. Lin Chen broke out in a cold sweat and stopped asking. The secret of this item might only be revealed when he had enough strength. The content of the 10 ancient books on cultivating odd crystals was complicated and vast. It was even more complicated than Lin Chen's vanishing shadow flying dagger. Lin Chen only used 20 million intermediate technique essence and read part of the content of the first book. To cultivate odd crystals, you need to guide the heaven and earth's luck and use the Saint Chi of the fortune spirit plant to compress the energy of the odd crystal. After fusing the contents of the first book, Lin Chen's mouth twitched. Damn it, what the hell was he doing? The hard condition for cultivating odd crystals was to first have a large number of fortune spirit plants. Fortune spirit plants were extremely precious, and every ancient sect that had been passed down for countless eras only had 1 or 2. To nurture an odd crystal, at the very least, he needed 3 luck spirit plants. This wasn't cabbage. Where was he going to get 3 fortune spirit plants? Rob 3 second-grade sects? He would have to face at least 3 saints. That would be awesome. This is probably the feeling of having a banknote template, but not a banknote printing machine. Lin Chen was helpless and could only put this thing aside for the time being. Next was the light attribute odd crystal. This item was sealed by the ancient sage, and with Lin Chen's strength, not to mention absorbing it. The moment the seal was released, just the energy fluctuation alone would be enough to crush him to death. Ancient Sage Senior, since I'm your successor, how about you give me the remaining things in the Ancient Sage Hall? I don't need the things you left behind now. After you leave, the Ancient Sage Hall needs a lot of energy to maintain, and many resources have to remain. Otherwise, if others know that my inheritance has been taken away, you will become the target of many saints. Or do you have the courage to deal with them now? This old man doesn't really care. Lin Chen. In the end, Lin Chen could only rely on himself. He absorbed the earth attribute odd crystal fragments Qianyu and the dark attribute odd crystal fragments Demon Shadow twice. In the room outside the passage, Lin Chen's 5 avatars immediately sat cross-legged and adjusted their breathing, sharing the efficiency of refining the odd crystal fragments for the main body. In less than half a day, Lin Chen perfectly absorbed 2 odd crystal fragments. The intermediate earth attribute broke 120 million points, and the intermediate dark attribute broke 150 million points. His strength had skyrocketed. The speed of refining the odd crystal fragments surprised the ancient sage. This child's mental cultivation method seemed to have the taste of a calamity and could perfectly combine with the heaven and earth energy of the odd crystal fragments. Thus, there was no pressure in refining the odd crystal fragments, but the difference could not be too great. Lin Chen did not stop and swallowed 2 more purple-green path understanding fruits. Good lad, You even have purple-green path-understanding fruits that even a holy king can benefit from. The ancient sage's spiritual projection shook his head and laughed when he saw this. His comprehension had a permanent growth, and he could enter this selfless state in a short period of time. His heaven-defying comprehension allowed him to deduce more possibilities from the techniques he was familiar with. As time passed, many of the techniques that Lin Chun cultivated to perfection were reborn again. The 7-star sword manual was comprehended to the top of the purple grade, though annihilation was comprehended to the half-orange grade. This 7 extremes force was derived from the life and death absolute force. Its power was comparable to the half-orange grade. The Genesis Holy Bible had transformed to a new and unknown realm. As for the bright moon mirror, Lin Chun had gained a deeper understanding of it. The last style of the bright moon mirror had already reached the orange level. The Genesis Holy Bible was one of the earliest techniques that I cultivated. After consuming 2 purple-green path understanding fruits, there are 4 left. The one that was affected the most is the Genesis Holy Bible. With a thought, Lin Chen's spiritual power flew out like thousands of dragon shadow, and it was more than a few times stronger than before. This kid's spiritual power can actually split into multiple independent spiritual wills. The ancient sage who was waiting for him at the side was slightly surprised. He increasingly felt that the young man in front of him was not simple. For example, spiritual power was like a human's arm. Ordinary people only had 1 pair of arms, but the original version of the Genesis Holy Bible allowed Lin Chun to have 2, 3, or even 4 pairs of arms. It allowed him to surpass others in the spiritual realm. However, the Taisher Holy Scripture that Lin Chun obtained after his epiphany gave him countless arms. His spiritual power could be split into 10, 100, or even 1,000 spiritual wills as long as his spiritual power was strong enough. Originally, Lin Chun could control 3 cauldrons to refine medicine. After the strengthening of the Genesis Holy Bible, he could control 5 to 8 cauldrons. Now, he could control 100 or 1,000. What was even more terrifying was that if Lin Chen's spiritual power was compared to the young man with many arms, after the breakthrough, the Genesis Holy Bible allowed Lin Chen's spiritual power to transform into a strong man with countless arms. To put it simply, his spiritual power could last longer, be longer, harder, and more. Moreover, because of the Phantom Rune, Lin Chun was not the only one whose spiritual power could last longer and harder after this breakthrough. It was the entire Black Horse Club. Although the Genesis Holy Bible has no grade, I don't doubt that it has the value of an orange grade technique. The harvest this time was huge. Lin Chun exhaled, his eyes sharp. In the Dark Moon's secret realm, his growth was earth-shattering. Chapter 861. In just 1 month, Lin Chen's growth was heaven-defying. Firstly, the system had been updated. Secondly, the way to obtain resources had increased. If Lin Chun hadn't entered the Blue Moon trial because of the Ice Heart Palace, he wouldn't have been able to enter the secret territory and could only wander around the mystic domain aimlessly. Establishing a sect and increasing his ranking on the genius list were the only 2 paths that Lin Chun had in front of him. This was the only way for him to obtain more opportunities to enter the secret territory. However, the faster he rose, the more it meant that Lin Chun would stand at the heart of the struggle in the sacred boundary. Unless he lowered his head and volunteered to join one of the top sects in the sacred boundary. Just 1 more step, and I'll reach the 9th layer combat emperor. The geniuses I killed earlier gave me 1.5 million Saint Origin coins. This time, I'll definitely be able to break through to the intermediate 9th layer combat emperor or even the late 9th layer combat emperor. Lin Chen's heroic spirit rose as he sent his consciousness into the peach blossom plant pouch. In an instant, Lin Chun sent all his doppelgangers in the square room to his side. This little guy actually used space travel in my ancient sacred palace and brought in 5 people from the outside? This is amazing. He's only a combat emperor. The ancient sacred palace clicked its tongue in wonder. Lin Shan was about to take out his huge sum of money to break through 3 realms. At that moment, he was dumbfounded. Where's my money? Damn, what's going on? There were only 30,000 Saint Origin coins left under the clear jade tree in the peach blossom plant pouch. Previously, he had killed many sky prides and geniuses from the genius list, as well as a huge amount of cultivation resources. Now, there was less than 10% of the original amount left. Was it a thief? No. Without my permission, even a saint can't sneak into my peach blossom plant pouch. Lin Shun scanned the interior of the peach blossom plant pouch. At this moment, all the energy was gathered in a valley some distance away from the clear jade tree. At the center of the valley was a cracked egg with purple and black stripes. All the energy from the herbs had been absorbed by the egg, and the rate of absorption was getting faster and faster. F***CK, it's this bastard's doing. Lin Shun was so angry that he almost smashed the purple egg. He controlled the peach blossom plant pouch and created a spatial barrier around the egg, sealing it. Lin Shun then retrieved all the herbs and the remaining silver Saint Origin coins. I've suffered a huge loss. This time, I've suffered a huge loss. F***CK. Now, I become the ultimate wage earner. Lin Chen's mouth trembled. The 1.6 million silver Saint Origin coins he had earned before was a huge sum even for a sect like Ice Heart Palace. Now, there were only 50,000 left. This bastard's eggs. I'll ask Elder Ancient Sage what kind of egg this is later on. For now, I'll just have to cultivate. Lin Shun calmed his mind and entered a state of cultivation with his doppelganger. Time is up. The ancient sage temple is about to close. Please leave. The white-clothed woman fluttered over. Senior, what about him? Lung Yuechi was slightly worried. The Blue Moon trial had a time limit. Once the time was up, everyone would have to leave. Don't worry, Master knows what he's doing. The white-clothed woman waved her hand, and the Su sisters, Lung Yuechi, Qin Jian sisters, and Lin Chen's Dragon Emperor were all teleported away. Beside the ancient sage skeleton, Lin Chen's main body and 5 doppelganger absorbed the silver Saint Origin coins at an extremely high rate. The 50,000 silver Saint Origin coins in the peach blossom plant pouch disappeared at a speed visible to the naked eye. In the end, when Lin Shun absorbed 45,000 silver Saint Origin coins, the 9-colored fate wheel in his body split, and the 9 tribulations origin broke through its shackles. Congratulations, host, for reaching the early stage of the Battle Emperor realm. Seeing that there were less than 10,000 silver Saint Origin coins left, Lin Shun had no choice but to extract more heavenly one holy water. This time, he watered the tree with 8 jugs of heavenly one holy water. Once again, the clear jade tree started to absorb the providence and holy water, growing rapidly. In an instant, the clear jade tree grew to 88 meters tall and produced a large amount of silver Saint Origin coins and heavenly treasures. It had officially entered the peak of its growth period. Then, Lin Chen moved the egg out of the peach blossom plant pouch. Senior Ancient Sage, what exactly is this thing? Lin Chen inquired. The ancient sage clasped his hands behind his back and smiled. I obtained this item during a trip to the Holy World. Its secrets are no less than this old man's inheritance. Its life source contains many different races, namely the Devil race, Dragon race, and Dark Shadow race. The living being in the tomb you killed is from the Dark Shadow race. It was born when I obtained this egg. The Dark Shadow race was born from the Beast race. After countless eras, they transformed into one of the most mysterious species in the universe. Their main body is a ball of darkness, and they have the ability to travel through the void. The top-tier Dark Shadow race can transform into the appearance of most races. The living being in the egg seems to have nurtured a being with many bloodlines, mainly from the Dark Shadow race. Unfortunately, after I obtained this egg, My lifespan came to an end, and I couldn't hatch it. If you have the ability, perhaps you could try to hatch it and see the secrets of its main body. Of course, I can't guarantee that you will definitely become its master. Lin Shen waved his hand disdainfully. Then forget it. I don't want to waste a huge amount of resources to hatch a fellow filled with unknown factors. He already had a dragon emperor with many bloodlines. He was already complaining that he didn't have enough resources to raise his dragon emperor. If he had given the million silver Saint Origin coins and a huge amount of resources to the dragon emperor, it might have broken through to the 60 million dragon power level by now. Just as Lin Shen finished speaking, the cracked purple egg slammed into Lin Shen with a bang, sending him flying dozens of meters away. Lin Shen felt dizzy. F***CK. An egg dares to slam into me? Are you too arrogant? Or am I too weak to pull out my gun? The man and the egg actually started fighting each other. The ancient sage didn't know whether to laugh or cry. After a long time, the egg stopped. Lin Shen's strength was suppressed, and he was actually on par with it. Suddenly, it turned into a streak of light and shot into the peach blossom plant pouch. It can ignore the spatial barrier of the peach blossom plant pouch. Lin Shen was surprised. The dark shadow race had spatial abilities, and this egg already had intelligence before it was born. It could travel through the void. If it was allowed to hatch and grow, how powerful would it be? 2 weeks, seal. With a thought, Lin Shen completely controlled the spatial barrier of the peach blossom plant pouch. He sealed the purple egg with a thought. Fortunately, although it can enter the peach blossom plant pouch on its own, its spatial abilities aren't enough to break through my restraints. The ancient sage wiped away cold sweat and smiled. Looks like this little fellow is determined to follow you. Lin Shen curled his lips. Even if I die outside and jump down from here, I won't hatch this bastard egg. It owes me more than 1 million silver Saint Origin coins. I'll remember it for life. With that, Lin Shen opened his talent column. Passive talents. Green tier, reinforced iron bones 200%. Green tier, dual cultivation sex. Blue tier, health increase 200%. Blue tier, divine force 100%. Blue tier, Emperor Slayer. Purple tier, assault. System, fuse the 4 passive talents of reinforced iron bones, health increase, divine force, and Emperor Slayer for me. The above talents were no longer effective for Lin Shen, because his body refinement realm had already exceeded the range of the bonuses. The divine force talent was only effective for those with dragon power points below 10 million. The reinforced iron bones and health increase talents were also ineffective because Lin Shen's body refinement realm had exceeded 10 million dragon power points. His flesh's defense and self-healing ability were far better than before. In fact, these talents were already useless for him. Emperor Slayer had a 1,000 chance of triggering an instant kill. It was only effective for those with late-stage 9th tier and below. With Lin Shen's strength, there shouldn't be any late-stage 9th tier that could pose a threat to him now. Even if there was, he wouldn't rely on this Emperor Slayer. As for the dual cultivation sex, well, he still had to find a chance to test it out. Fusing the host's designated passive talents has consumed 9 million talent points and 17 million heavenly Dao points. You have obtained the purple tier passive talent. Tier. Any attack of the host that contains killing intent has a 10% chance of triggering the tier effect, which can tear the enemy's battle aura, treasured weapon, or other forms of defense. Applicable to all runes and talents. Effective only for those below the 9th tier Saint Realm. Chapter 862. It can tear apart any form of defense, and I can only take it head-on? Good stuff. If it is complemented by the penetration rune, wouldn't it allow the enemy to take my attack head-on and have a 25% penetration effect? Lin Shen was pleasantly surprised. The only flaw was that the probability was only 10%. System, level up the charging rune. After killing a large number of geniuses, In addition to the previous accumulation, the number of rune stones had exceeded 70. Upgrade successful. Level 6 charging rune can increase the power of battle skills by 600%. Lin Chen's heart was filled with confidence as he looked at the attribute pane. Strengthening points, 99,555. Blank attribute, 780,000. This time, he had finished his preparations. These attribute points would definitely cause him to undergo a qualitative transformation. System, I want to strengthen the mental cultivation method. Consumed 12950 enhancement points. Failed to strengthen mental cultivation technique. Lin Chen's heart was heavy. One failure meant more than 10,000 strengthening points. How many techniques and weapons could he strengthen with this? However, this was the last step of strengthening the mental cultivation method. Once the strengthening was successful, it would be a plus 13 mental cultivation method. The overall power would increase by 240%. Lin Chen's strength would increase by another 70%. Again, strengthening failed. After a series of strengthening failures, the strengthening points were quickly exhausted. Lin Chen converted another 430,000 blank attribute points. Consumed 12,950 strengthening points. Strengthening failed. However, the crazy strengthening still failed. Counting the original number of times, the mental cultivation method had failed more than 40 times. Lin Chen broke out in cold sweat as he converted the last 350,000 blank attribute points into strengthening points. Consumed 12,950 strengthening points. Strengthening failed. After failing all the way to the last 50,000 strengthening points, Lin Chen was close to despair. The consumption of strengthening the mental cultivation method was too terrifying. He originally thought that with the 780,000 blank attribute points, he would have 880,000 strengthening points. It would be enough to strengthen it, and there would still be a portion left to strengthen the vanishing shadow flying dagger. Now, he did not even strengthen the mental cultivation method. Sigh, I can only try to find more values next time. If I had known earlier, I would have strengthened the vanishing shadow flying dagger first. Lin Chen was depressed. Thinking that there was no hope, he finally clicked on the strengthen function. Consumed 12,950 strengthening points. Mental cultivation method 9 calamities of creation has been successfully strengthened. Power increase 70%. Plus 13 overall upgrade 240%. You have reached the upper limit. There is no room for improvement at the moment. Boom! The origin of 9 tribulations in the 9-colored fate will soar again. It was as if it had returned to the sea of stars, roaming freely. Lin Chen's mouth twitched. On the brink of a fatal blow? With only 53,800 points left, he actually went up. Damn it, my heart almost couldn't take it. I still have 40,000 points left. I'll just strengthen as much as I can. In the end, Lin Chen spent 40,000 enhancement points to upgrade Vanishing Shadow Flying Dagger to plus 10. Battle Skill Upgrade, 110%. Lin Chen had learned a lesson from this time strengthening. In the future, if he had a stable direction to increase his strength, he would first strengthen the areas that could be stably increased. If his mental cultivation method failed this time, then Lin Chen, would really have shit his pants. 880,000 strengthening points for nothing. Suddenly, a thought popped into Lin Chen's mind. He curiously clicked on the ultimate Vambrace, God of War Gauntlets, strengthening function. System notification. This item originated from the system's next version, set function. It is currently unable to be strengthened. Set function? Will the system's next version have more powerful functions than the strengthening function? Lin Chen was curious. Boom! Suddenly, Lin Chen sucked in a breath of cold air. There was a throbbing and faint throbbing pain in his body. This pain originated from the Dragon Emperor's bloodline. This feeling, my Dragon Emperor has been severely injured? Lin Chen's expression changed, and he immediately exited the system. Senior Ancient Sage, Where are my friends? Ancient sage said, my maids should have teleported them away. The ancient sage temple consumes a huge amount of energy every day when it is opened. This is related to the time limit of my spiritual will. Lin Shen's heart skipped a beat. Everyone was teleported away, and the Dragon Emperor was severely injured. Didn't that mean that something had happened? Senior Ancient Sage, I have something to do and have to leave first. As long as I, Lin Shun, am still alive, I will definitely avenge you. Lin Shun cupped his fists. Ancient Sage laughed heartily and said, haha, I originally only planned to give half of the inheritance, but I've given it all to you now. Little fellow, you have the power of enlightenment that I left in the Sky Tower. You and I are fated. I believe in you. Lin Shin cupped his fists. Before Ancient Sage teleported him away, he had already used up 10 million talent points to activate superdimensional teleportation to the Dragon Emperor's location. He then turned into a beam of light and disappeared. Did I allow this kid to come and go freely in the Ancient Sage Temple? No wonder he didn't panic at all during the Providence test. Ancient Sage didn't know whether to laugh or cry. This kid was full of secrets. Has he left? Is he worthy of your expectations? A beautiful figure in white appeared beside Ancient Sage and asked, perhaps there isn't a better candidate than him. Moreover, Ancient Sage stood with his hands behind his back, his eyes revealing an especially deep and weathered expression. Moreover, this little fellow's background is not small. He has the mark of the demon race on his body. Even I am afraid of him. Back then, a top expert appeared in the demon race. He barged into the holy prison alone and killed so many gods in the sacred boundary that they didn't dare to show their faces. This kid has a lot of connections. Outside the Ancient Sage Temple, waves surged. The sky was even more mysterious. There was actually a sea of blood surging, and within the waves, there were the hoarse howls of thousands of ghosts. It was like a sea of blood and a mountain of corpses. The sinister aura could disintegrate all battle intent. In the space enveloped by the sea of blood, a group of beautiful figures appeared. Each of them had their own merits. They were Lung Yueqi, Qin Jian, and the others. At this moment, all of the beauties were heavily injured. Even Qin Jian and Qin Miao had suffered different degrees of injuries. The Dragon Emperor had been heavily injured in order to protect the Su sisters. If it fought alone, the battle strength it displayed would be completely different. The young man floated in the air with his hands crossed over his chest. He sized up the girls with interest. Ha ha, I didn't expect that not only would I bring Yueqi back, I would also bring so many beauties with me. This young master wants them all. I'm afraid you can't afford it. Qin Jian sneered. Qin Miao who was at the side, gritted her teeth. Her spirit had collapsed, and her pretty face was pale. Young Pavilion Master Xiao Qing laughed sinisterly. Yes, you two sisters are indeed very strong. It is not the strength that your ranking should have. With your strength, you are at least ranked 87,000 on the genius ranking. If this young master came alone, I really wouldn't be able to take you down. Unfortunately, this young master's Blood Sea Pagoda art can make the power of the 6 heroes return to me. You are definitely not my match. If you surrender now and swallow this young master's heart-refining pill, you can still live. Hearing the other party's wild laughter, Qin Jian secretly cursed. Oh no, so he brought the 6 heroes of the Dark Pavilion with him. These 6 people are known as the 7 heroes of the Dark Pavilion with him. Each of them is a top assassin ranked above 95,000 on the genius ranking. Could it be that I'm really going to die here this time? The sea of blood surged, and 6 figures could be vaguely seen moving about, constantly injecting a huge amount of battle chi and blood energy into Xiao Qing, causing his aura to exceed the limit and remain at its peak. Lung Yueqi, become my woman. Xiao Qing laughed crazily as he turned into a bloody light and charged towards the injured Lung Yueqi. Lung Yueqi gritted her teeth and gripped a short knife in her slender hand. She would rather die than submit to the other party. Clang! An ear-piercing sound of metal colliding exploded, and a sea of blood surged. You dare to hurt Sister Yuechi. Damn it, stab him in the eye. A silver robe blocked in front of Lung Yuechi, and a murderous roar shook the sea of blood. A spatial beam descended, and 6 figures descended into the barrier of the sea of blood. What? Xiao Qing was shocked. Then, the tip of the spear, which was circulating with 5-color dragon light, fiercely pierced towards his anus. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.